Hey, good morning, YouTubers, content creators, and everyone. Hey, welcome to the Virginia Bushcrafter channel. Hey, if this is your first time here, you know this channel is all about learning and practicing the skills of bushcrafting, prepping, and survival. And here I am today for the next few days at one of the greatest events concerning the wilderness. The one and only, the Georgia Bushcraft Meetup here in Watkinsville, Georgia. So I did arrive here yesterday, had a very beautiful ride from Fredericksburg, Virginia, all the way to Watkinsville, Georgia, taking the back roads, just looking at the beautiful scenery, watching the beautiful boats, watching the people fish, seeing the wildlife run across the road that I missed twice, which that's thank goodness. But it was a very pleasurable ride. I turned it into 2 days, 400 miles one day, 200 miles the next. Very enjoyable. I arrived here one day early. The place it's already packed here. We just the day before it's packed. We were looking at possibly 1,000 people here on Thursday, and the event starts on a Friday. So, but I'm signed up for numerous classes. One thing about it, you can take so many classes here, and classes that I am signed up for, starting with seats and tree vices. That's going to be given by Madison Poole of Bomb-Proof Bushcraft. That's today. I'm also taking a class on Useful Trees, Vines, and Mushrooms of Georgia. That's by Meriwether Vanderbergen Foraging Texas LLC. Those are the classes I'm taking today. Tomorrow, I'm taking a class, Managing Your Mindset When Lost in the Woods, given by Tom Sarge of Prepping with Sarge. And then after that class, I'm taking a class, Choosing the Right Axe for Your Camp Task, by Keaton Council of Council Tools. The next class is Trees as Tools, Identify, Use, and Thrive in the Forest, given by Craig Cottle of Nature Reliance. Saturday night will be a fireside chat. It's called My Experience on the Lawn, given with Zachary Fowler. And on Sunday, I will be taking a course, Stories and Lessons from 86 Days Along by Carly Fairchild. And the last class on Sunday will be Self-Taught Foraging. You can do it. So those just a few of the many classes they offer here. And the thing about it, guys, these classes are free. They do have classes that you can pay for that requires materials. But last night we just had a nice couple of guys got around from SE Knives and so forth, and some knife designers, and we watched some youngsters make a fire in a huge fire pit, and we just sat around, we ate and enjoyed the fire. Nothing is more beautiful than a fire. And as we know that fire, to me, is the most important bushcraft skill. If you have a fire, you're going to stay warm. I slept here, I have a lot of wool blankets with me and so forth. But anyway, guys, I just want to welcome you. Hey, come along with me on this event. I'm going to get out of this tent, make me some breakfast, and get ready for my 11 o'clock class. I'll see you then. All right, guys, that says it all. But just take a quick look at the participants. There's so many that I would not be able to get everyone on camera. But I am headed out right now. I've heard something very exciting. And since my class is not until 11 o'clock, I get a chance to go check out some of the vendors, specifically for a slingshot. That's right, a slingshot. Just take a look real quick. People are out in the woods. But let's head on up to some of the vendors. All right, guys, I'll see you when I get up there. If you don't mind, if you could tell my group about this, let's see. Man. Hey guys, here at the Virginia Bushcrafter, I just said to you I was looking for a slingshot, but let me show you a vendor that knows a heck of a lot about slingshots. So you just tell them where to find you and where you are.
How you doing, people? My name's Moan Waller. I'm an RVA catapult. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I've been making custom slingshots for 8 years. I'm taken to a whole nother level, okay? I do a free shoot at my house every other weekend in Virginia. The kids, dogs welcome. It's a big farm. I've been making art this entire time, and I'm absolutely #1 in the world at what I do. So please check it out, rvacatapults.com.
All right, guys, so you know what? You're going to see me down there. All right, I'll see you guys, see you around. All right, man, thanks.
No doubt, man, absolutely.
Hey, guys, here at the Virginia Bushcrafter with one of my subscribers, Craig. Hey, tell him, how do you like this?
It's a great time, having a good time.
Is
Enjoy.
This your first time here?
First time here.
Yeah, he came, this is his first time here. And this is the best time.
Oh,
there
yes.
are more vendors than they've ever had here before. And I met Craig yesterday.
Yep.
Hey, he called me out, told me one of my subscribers. Hey, guys, it's really feel good when you can actually meet one of your subscribers and see them in person.
Yep.
And so how long was your drive here?
11 hours.
See, guys.
I come from Ohio.
See how far people come for the Georgia Bushcraft? Yep. I came 600 miles. So he came even further than I did.
Yep.
So, all right,
good
guys.
time.
So hopefully I'll see you guys here. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
More skinnier than other people's. I'm not pointing anybody out.
We know who we are.
And it also depends on the size that you need. If you want wider or heavier, but you're going to need 2 sticks that are obviously going to be your size. These ones have to be able to hold your weight, and here's the ones that are going to hold all the weight of the cordage wrapped around the tree. Okay. So as we set this up, it's going to be set up just like that, and just like that. Except it's going to be upside down. Okay. So, how we're going to do this is we measure out our cordage. We want to make sure that there's plenty of cordage left over at the end, because there's nothing worse than getting to the end of the project and going like, man, I wish I had another 3 or 4 inches of cordage. So, we'll make sure we have plenty out there. This is my new toy, that's why I'm using it so much. We'll do the same thing over here. You can do this with 550 cord or pretty much anything. Micro cord. I just use bank line because I have plenty of it. So if you guys are familiar with the traditional way of doing something like this, you're gonna weave it around. You're gonna put this on here, and you're literally gonna weave it in and out, in and out, in and out. It's very time consuming. It's strong, it's great, but it's very time consuming, and it takes up a lot more cordage as well. All right, so this way is going to be a lot less. Find the center, which is right there, and we loop it over. Now every other one, so like we come from the bottom, over top, we're gonna go underneath, over top, underneath, over top, underneath, and then we're gonna end up over top. Who wants to do the next part? It's gonna be the same thing. Anybody? Any takers? What? Come on, don't be bashful. You learn by doing. You learn by doing. Very good. Except there's one part that I forgot to tell you. You did it wrong. And that's my fault. So, yeah, it's got to be opposite. It's got to be the opposite.
But at least you remembered before.
I set you up for failure.
Busted your butt.
It's all right.
All right, do it again.
So you do it from the, okay, so you start on the opposite side.
Start on the opposite side. So one side's going to have the loose ends on this side. One side's going to have loose ends on this side. So we're over. So we'll just take this cord down. Under, over, under. There you go. Back and forth all the way across. Under. There you go. So we're over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And then we're going to do the same thing with this cordage. So who's next? I'm going to finish up this side. You can do that side.
Tighter, harder to do.
Instead of doing the way you're doing it, you could have just taken this cordage into the inside and just done it the same way. But you're already halfway through it. Now I tell you, right? Okay, so now you've got your cordage run. You want to dress it up a little bit, make it neat, and kind of tighten it up a little bit. You want to tighten up so that your logs are nice and tight here. We're going to do one side at a time. That's all right. I appreciate it. So we'll do one side at a time. So you got it nice and tight like that. This is where this log comes in. We will set it off on this like this. Does anybody know what a windlass is? Okay. So it's how you tighten things. Not to get too much into the weeds, but there's Spanish windlasses and there's Chinese windlasses. What we're going to do, I believe that this is the Spanish version. So, anybody fluent in Spanish here?
I know a little bit.
So far we haven't learned any new knots at all. The only thing I'm going to tell you here is you can tie a square knot, you can tie a granny knot, you can tie whatever kind of knot you want, as long as this is tightened down there like that. Okay? Now, when we start doing the windlass, it tightens that all up. Right? Tightens that all up. We are good to go. Now, who's going to do this side? Who's going to do the side over here? Anybody? 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 Bueller? You'll do it? Let's make heads and tails off of this one. Remember, we got to go over, under, over, under. Let's make sure all of our cord lengths are right. Over, under, there we go, just like that. This one, Right, let's dress it up. Looking good. On this side. Now, let's tighten it up, make it nice and tight.
What are you doing?
We're just waiting for Charlie.
Yeah.
So,
Tight up.
You get
Yeah, not me.
I'll show you.
Just a square knot.
I got. I was deciding between this and like one of those frog butts, but I realized we already had
There you go. Just a little mess underneath. Keep going with it.
So,
If it's too tight,
No, okay. I just didn't know how much to.
if it's too tight, it breaks. When it breaks, what do we do? Go ahead and tie that. You can flip it all the way over if you want to. Now the great thing about this design, if you're taking a look at it, there's a lot of things you can do with it. So Blackie, when I watched the video, he was talking about just taking this right here, sitting it on the ground, and now you can literally kick your butt up off the dirt, right? Now it's not very comfortable. I'm the kind of person when I go to the woods, I want to have fun, I want to be able to relax. This is still, it's comfortable, you're not keeping your butt in the mud and muck and the mire, but there's, I think, a better way of doing it. So you could also put this as a fence post, as a fire break as well. So if you have your fire reflector, there's a lot of things you can do with this design if you upscale it or whatever, but that's not what the class is about. That's still helpful information. So the next part you can use any kind of cordage you want. Think about how much you weigh, and think about whenever we tie knots into cordage, you can reduce the strength of that cordage by 80%. Okay, depending on the knot and everything and the kind of cordage it is. So you want to make sure that the cordage that you're using is going to be strong enough to hold your weight. Okay. So this is mule tape. It's also called electrician's pull tape. So if you guys ever see where they're running cable optics or anything like that, and they've got those big spools with the conduit, this is preloaded into that. They'll lay that cable in there, or when they're doing like big buildings and stuff, this is already preloaded into all that conduit, and they will take and tie the wire onto one side and they'll pull it through, which is why they call it electrician's pull cord. We call it mule tape. So this is where we start doing some knots. Who wants to learn some knots? Don't shake your head.
What is this thing called that we just did?
So this is a Bushcraft swing seat.
I'll get some. I'll do knots.
Okay, you want to do some knots? Anybody else? Anybody?
I saw a hand over here. I'm trying to put his hand up. Okay.
So, first one we are going to learn is the bow line. Does everybody know what a bow line is?
Yep.
Okay, so a bow line is a non-slip knot. Okay? So there's two different ways of tying it. I'm going to show you probably the easiest way that I know of. And I'm going to show it to you from your perspective like this. And then I'll turn around and I'll show you guys all the same perspective. So I'm right-handed. Are you right-handed? Thank goodness. Because there's some things I can't do, and tying knots left-handed is I do. So I hold the working hand in this hand, and I hold this right, and I throw a loop into it, right? Now that loop, I lay over, and I pull that up. Now this is called a marline spike, okay? And that's also used for a lot of different bushcraft projects. This end right here, I take the tail through. So I always call this the Arby's hat. Aha, see the Arby's hat? So I take the Arby's hat and I throw the working end through. I trap it back onto itself. And as I pull, the only thing you want to make sure is that this loop right there comes across onto the top, just like that, okay? So that is a square knot, or a bow line. And you know when it's done correctly that the tail comes up through the circle. We're not going to just tie a small bow knot on this, or a bow line. We're going to tie a big one. But I want you to go ahead.
Give it a shot.
Okay. Loop. Yep. Tail through there.
Catch it.
Yep. So the hinges on itself. Okay. And then go ahead and pull out. Try it again. Try it again. Loop. Over the top. Now you gotta lay this on top. Get your Arby's hat.
Get my Arby's hat.
There you go.
Here.
Now loop it over top, pinch it, and then you want to make sure that this can keep going.
This is weird.
Let me see. You are messing it up.
Look,
That's
I
why
am
we're doing it.
challenging my perfectionism by not knowing something
This is why
already.
we do it, because I can sit here and show you, hey, this guy's is really simple. This is all it is.
Hey, look, I saw
It's a
you do
bow.
it.
It's a bowline knot. It's a this, a that, and the other. And you're like, oh, that's really simple. Then you're gonna get home and you'll be like, she made it look so simple.
Yeah, I was
Right.
impressed. I was like, I can do that.
So here, we're gonna do this together. I'm gonna do it. Nope, hold on. Don't get ahead of me. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Here we are, just like this. Flip it over, bam. Right like that. Lay that over. Get your Arby's hat. Right? Now this, I take these 3 fingers. This is the loop. This is how big your loop is going to be. Okay? So if I'm tying the regular one, I always take these 3 fingers, keep them in there. Take the working end through the Arby's hat. Pinch it onto it. Now you hold right there.
Okay.
Just like that. Now pull through.
Hey, look at that.
Just like that. And then when you get done, here you go. Perfect. What's your name? Tara. Give Tara a hand, everybody. So that's one of the primary knots with this. Except, like I said, we're not going to do a small one because we need to set up for the next knot. So we're going to make a huge bowline. All right. So I'm about 5'9". If you guys know anything about Da Vinci, he came up with the whole. Remember the man is like this, perfect circle. So if I go like this, fingertip to fingertip, I'm about 5'8", 5'9", so this should be 5'8", 5'9". That's how big I'm going to make my bowline. Yeah? Yeah. Just like that. We're going to pull that through. Now, usually the tail doesn't have to be this long for bowlines, but we want a 6 to 8 inch tail on our bowline. And we'll show you why in a moment. So now we've got about a 3-foot bowline. Okay? Does anybody know what a sheep bend is? Okay. Well, it's a way of attaching 2 different size cordages together. The reason they call it a sheep bend is it's an old sailor's knot. So when the sailors used to have actually ship sails, they didn't have cool things like grommets and loops in the corners of the ship sails. They would take the corner of it, fold it over on itself, and then run the cordage through it, and that's how they would actually set the sails on their ships. Okay, so that's a little history lesson for you on the sheet bend, which is different than what some people say. It's called a sheep bend, and I don't know what a sheep bend is, but you'll hear it. Okay, so we need 2 lobes. Like we could just loop this on like this and like this, but what happens is when you sit on it, the forces start pulling in, right? You don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a lobe and a lobe. And how you do that is find the center right there. Just like that. We're going to take this working end, we're going to push it up through. Runs all the way around. And then it's going to go through the loop. Who wants to try that one? Now what you've got is 2 lobes. And those 2 lobes. Go just like that. I'm sorry. I'm looking at it from different perspectives. There we go. How's this? This looks better. Like that. So who wants to try the sheet bend? Anybody? No takers on the sheet bend?
We gotta try the other bowling first, right?
Huh?
We gotta try the other bowling first, right?
Well, I'm going to get to that. Alright, so I'm going to show you the one side, because the one side's the same as the other side. Okay, so who wants to do a sheet bend?
What about the other platform?
Somebody, yeah. Come on. Okay, so here is, what's your name? Tammy? Alright, Tammy. So here's, I'm going to give you a real close up look. So we find the center. You have this. You run it up through. Around. And then this. And then right back. Okay. That is the sheet bend. And it won't slip or nothing.
Oh, that one's not.
This one does not slip. There's that point.
In front, I'm going to Madison. That one. You coming over here? Okay. Okay. It was hid. I don't know what it was. Steve.
That's it. Sheet bend. Okay.
What's up? What's this?
So that is the structure for your seat.
But mine don't say that.
Now, unfortunately, I don't have a tree to wrap it around, but what I do have
That's better.
are a couple of fence posts or pop-up posts. Who wants? Does anybody want to try the bow line? You do? Come on up. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. How tall are you? Yeah, that's not going to work. Well, because I already got the other side. Okay. So I'm going to pretty much get you set up. I'm going to start right there. Okay. Get in there. With your left hand. Oh, sweet. Okay, here we go. Left-handed.
They're weird. Don't pay attention to that.
I can do this. You should have told me you were left-handed before. I would have told somebody else. Okay, ready? Make a loop. Pull it back on itself. There you go. That's your Arby's hand. Okay. And you would take running end here. Throws your weight off. Wait. Running end up through here. Do the Arby's hat.
He's like, he's not alone by me in shape. He's like, if he's not in there, Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got it. Just like that. Does anybody know why you why and how the mechanics are that you lose 80% of your strength, up to 86% of your strength when you put knots in ropes? Huh? No.
More pressure or weight going to that one spot?
So
Concentrating the weight on that one side.
you're concentrating your weight on the outside part of the rope, and the inside part of the rope is all compressed. The outside rope has to make that radius, so whenever there's any stresses on it, that's where all that stress is put on that outside radius, and that's where it will start breaking down and fraying, and once it starts breaking down and fraying, it'll rip right down through it. Okay. Left hand. I gotta think backwards. I have a hard enough time thinking forwards. I'm gonna do one here for each other, okay? Here. Okay. Here's this hand right here. You're going to loop like this. Okay. Got your loop. hold it onto itself. Pull that up. That's your Arby's head, right? Working end. Through the Arby's head. Pinch it off. There you go. Is anybody else here left-handed?
This little one is. Okay.
My mom and my brother are left-handed.
He's the only one in our family.
Really?
He's the only one in our family.
We're gonna get this. If we don't get it now, you're sticking around, and we're gonna get it afterwards. You volunteered for it. Okay. Let's just start small. We'll do it small. Ready? That's your loop. Arby's hat.
More experience.
You're gonna pinch it off right there on that. Hold that. Let's get with you afterwards. We're going to learn this knot, okay? The bushcraft, the bowline is probably one of the most used bushcraft knots that there is, okay? So that's why it's very important to learn it. It's used in a lot of applications in bushcrafting because it is a non-slip knot. And it's easy to recover the cordage after you're done, which is also very important because cordage is a commodity. And if you're in a survival situation or austere situations, you want to be able to recover everything that you're using. So. All right. So now I've got my left side done and my right side done. Now when I use this to attach it to a tree, I don't have trees like I said, but what I do have is some uprights for my pop-up. Now we're not going to sit in this when we're done, but how I like to do it is really simple. Does anybody know what a girth hitch is? No? Okay. So a girth hitch is literally, let me see somebody's arm. Put their forearm out for me. Okay. So you've got the center. You're just literally going to put the center down there and pull the rest of it through. Right? So that's a girth hitch. And that's all we're going to do around the tree. There's probably more complicated ways of doing it, but I try to keep it as simple as humanly possible. So we do a girth hitch around the tree, grab that, pull it through, and now we got a lobe on one side and a lobe on the other. Now you're like, well, wait, that's a little off. It's okay. Nothing is perfect in bushcrafting. Nothing is straight, nothing is level. There's no such thing as dimensional lumber. So we deal with whatever nature gives us. And now you're like, well, wait a second here, Madison. That seat doesn't look like it's seating very well. And you're right, it doesn't. Because it's all sitting down and wonky, right? So that is where we come up with the third stick. The third stick you want to be at least the size of your shoulders, probably a little bit wider. So when you're up here, you create, does anybody remember the marline spike? That's what we're going to create. So you roll it up, create your marline spike, stick your end in, and that one's stuck. Do the same thing on this side, about the same height. Create your marline spike and stick that side through. Now, in case you're wondering, a marline spike is also a wonderful way to make a ladder. It's also a wonderful way if you're trying to move something and you want to be able to put some significant pull power on something, because it doesn't slip either, okay? I can sit here and pull on this, as you can see, it's not slipping, okay? So, You got tired of seeing me struggle? The
Teamwork makes the dream work.
the struggle bus. Okay, so now we'll just take and wrap up all of our excess up here. Now, if you skip that step of putting the marline spike in, what'll happen is you'll go to sit down and it will unravel. Okay, so the marline spike is kind of important. And this also allows you to adjust up and down, so if you want your seat higher or lower, you can do that. And that's how you do this, the Bushcraft seat. Okay, so everybody now knows how to do a marline spike. Everybody know? See how to do it.
It turns out I do that, and I didn't know what it was called. Like to shut the gate to keep the goats in.
Oh, okay, there you go. So, simple knots. And again, like I said, there's if you do this right here, it probably takes you about 40 to 45 minutes between searching out, finding, and cutting, and doing everything. All the coverage, all the cordage is pretty much recoverable except for the bank line, unless you want to try to take knots out of bank line, and that's like trying to put the holes back in Swiss cheese. It's just not very easy. It's not going to happen. So that is the swing seat. Does anybody have questions on it? Okay, and that is also, since it took 45 minutes to make those, that's why I have the pre-made ones. And you don't have to worry about any of the knots down here or anything. All you have to do is cut the cord or cut the tree branches, put them through the sleeves, and then hang it from your tree, and you're good to go. And it's also very light. So, any questions? No questions?
Do you have tips for loosening up the knots when you do that?
So, you guys are going to think I'm crazy.
I have one too that I'll give you, but I'm curious what yours is.
They actually have a tool called the marline spike. Okay, and the marline spike is a little hunk of wood like a nail or an awl, and they use that to get into the in between the cords to be able to loosen it up. So there's that. If something is in there really tight, a hammer and an anvil. And I've done a video on it. You can sit there and tighten something as hard as you possibly want, but you take a mallet or a hammer and you put it on something hard like a wood log, and you sit there and hit it and turn it and hit it and turn it and hit it, turn it. All you're doing is loosening up, loosening up, loosening up, loosening up, and you'll be able to finally get in there. It might take you 5-10 minutes, but for a knot that would not come out, you will be able to get the knot out. Okay, like I said, you got to hit it, hammer it, move it, but it will eventually loosen it up enough where you can pull it out.
Yeah, something that's not quite as tight, maybe bank line, but like a shoelace or whatever, just the same kind of principle, but you just rub it
together.
Your palms, and that sometimes will help.
It will help out, yeah. It'll loosen it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the swing seat. And then the other invention that I came up with, I do a lot of, like when I go out in the woods, guys, I like to relax, I like to have fun, I like to carve. It's my chance to relax. So there's always little crafting projects to do. And that's, when I'm at home, I have vices. I have things that are my third hand. And I didn't have that out in the woods so much. There was, bushcrafting ways of doing it where you can, do laugh vices and things like that. So I created something called the tree vise, and this is just 3D printed frames that I slightly modified a Jorgensen F-style clamp. These are very common, and what that allows me to do is take any clamp into the woods, and now I can work a spoon. If I was good enough to be a bowyer and work on making bows or anything like that, I would be able to do that. I'm going to really run that out. But this allows me to use both hands to have control of the wood. Does anybody know what a shave horse is?
Shave horse?
A shave horse. Nobody knows what a shave horse is?
You sit down and you push your feet on it.
Yep. So a shave horse, you sit down. It's got a seat. That's why they call it a horse, because everything was related to horses because they didn't have bicycles and motorcycles back then. And you had
Another mode of transportation at the Georgia Bushcraft.
So, okay, you gotta find, a person who knows about the cedar. My favorite thing to do with the cedar is make an infused vinegar with it. So I'll start with apple cider vinegar. I'll take some of the green leaves. Now the compounds you want are inside the leaves. If you ever played with the cedar leaves, they're tough. So that's where like the meat tenderizing hammer comes out, and I just pound the leaves for a bit, just to rupture that cell wall. Then I take a branch about an inch in diameter, peel this outer bark off, set that aside. It makes fantastic kindling. So if you want to start a fire, this is great stuff for that. But you get down to the wood, and then with some sort of torch or some fire source that you're allowed to play with, char one side of the branch. So you just want to take it just dark brown, but not smoldering yet. What you're doing there, and you're going to get chemistry, is called the mnemonic reaction. You are caramelizing the sugars found in the tree. This is what will keep you alive if you ever end up on Naked and Afraid, zombie apocalypse, anywhere. If you end up with pine trees, you're golden. You are absolutely golden. What are two things you need every day, just in life in general?
Water and air.
Shelter.
Okay. What are four things you need? I'll jump to the chick. Vitamin C. You cannot produce vitamin C. You need to take it every day. Vitamin C does all sorts of things in your body, but one of the great ways to think of vitamin C, it is the glue that holds you together. You've heard of scurvy, where you don't get the vitamin C? What that is every time you eat, you put all sorts of little cuts and nicks in your gums. You evolved to do that, and your gum tissue is actually the fastest healing tissue in the body if you have vitamin C. If you don't have vitamin C, those little nicks and tears don't heal. They become infected, your teeth rot. They fall. Grams of pine needles to get the vitamin C, which if you make a circle with your fingers about the size of a 50-cent piece, those of you that remember money, and you pack it tight with pine needles, that will give you the approximate amount. So now you have the green needles packed in there. Take them out. What do you got to do? You got to rupture the cell walls. So you. So I was talking about mushrooms. You want to match 8 to 10 structural features. One of them is what is it growing on. So on these, I would say these are growing on.
When you want to make your own knife, this is the place to be. When you want to learn how to make your own knife, this is the place.
His brother, his sister, her husband.
All right, guys, this is a true camping area here. This is a canvas tent, military bivvy, and there's a ground sheet. And this is very, very authentic.
Russian. That's a Russian parka.
Russian. And the guy who owns it is right here. You just tell him it's a Russian carpet.
Parka. It's a raincoat.
It's a raincoat. Yeah. And if you notice, we have the lantern here with the oil. We have our fire pit. But most people here, including myself, we're staying in a tent. But he is staying under a lean-to shelter. Coffee pot, water bottle, the grill, bamboo.
Solar panels.
And he's going to have power because there's the solar panel, his gloves, more wood. This is what you call really camping out. This is a great setup for the woods or being in the bush. Hey guys, if you can, you got to make it to the Georgia Bushcraft. You're going to see some very, very unique things. All right, guys, I'll see you around.
Watch all the people run.
Yeah. Hey guys, here's another fantastic. Yeah, another fantastic shelter. They come in all sizes and shapes. Place is loaded. Well, here comes the rain, so I'm going to go and fix me something to eat. Well, good morning, everyone. This is day 2 at the Georgia Bushcraft. I'm sure, as you can hear, the rain is here. We got a lot of rain last night, but yesterday was a very, very enjoyable day. Met a lot of people. Again, had a very nice fireside chat with a lot of bushcrafters. You would be surprised at the knowledge that these ladies and gentlemen have traveled across the country, traveled out of the country. They teach classes. I mean, there had to be at least 100 years of experience here last night. But you know, today I'm looking forward to my class is going to be in about 2 hours, managing your mindset when lost in the woods. So I'm looking forward to that class. And the other class that I'm taking today is choosing the right axe for your camp task, given by Keaton Council of Council Tool. And I'm really looking forward to that class. And tonight, then I also have a class, Trees as Tools, Identify, Use, and Thrive in the Forest. That's going to be a good class. And then tonight, there's going to be a fireside chat with Zachary Fowler, who won Alone. I don't remember the year right offhand, but he's going to talk about his experience on Alone. But yeah, I took some classes yesterday. Really good classes. Basically, really finding out that you can actually eat bark from a pine tree. So we identified some trees. We looked at mushrooms. Learned a lot. Basically, it was about an hour and 45 minutes. But just letting me know how much more I have to learn. So I'm really going to be looking at foraging really seriously, doing some hydration, hydrating food, because if I want to stay out in the bush more than 1 or 2 nights, I'm going to have to forage food or have a lot of freeze dry food. So I learned a lot about that, and I did purchase some items yesterday, which were, I think they're, let's see, let me just get them. Some really cool items. Of course, here's a tree owner's manual. This is by Georgia Tree Council, but tree owner manual. Of course, more flashlights. Let's see. Okay, see, this is a small little medical kit from the Georgia Forestry Commission. You can always use medical equipment. Hope that we don't have to use it. Blade guard paste, of course, for my knives. Blade guard paste. An emergency blanket for $1. Here is a tool that is, let me see if I can show it to you better. Yeah, here's a tool. One end is an awl, this end is an awl, and this end is for assisting you in removing knots. Here's a good old go fishing kit from Crystal Creek. Just think of a hobo reel. Comes with lures. There are lures in here, hooks in here. It just fits together. Oh, let's see. Woods Tramp bush button. This is also for your blades as well. A pouch and another small flashlight key ring style. So, and of course here's another native trees of Georgia. So this is more or less like an educational meetup. Again, there are so many vendors here. You have to be very selective in what you purchase because you can just purchase and purchase and purchase. But there are 2 books I'm going to purchase today. One is basically a survival book, and another one is going to be a book on foraging. Really good. So since I've taken a class from a guy yesterday who's actually from Houston, Texas. The class that I took from Foraging Texas LLC, I'm going to go ahead and purchase that book, a really good book. And another class I took yesterday, Seats and Tree Vices by Madison Poole, Bomb-Proof Bushcraft. You got to check our channel out, Bomb-Proof Bushcraft. Very, very intuitive. So you're going to be seeing me make 2 chairs that I learned from her. But guys, yeah, it's just basically a host of education, meeting great people, and just join Mother Nature. So with that said, I'm going to get up, do the morning things, and get ready for my 9 o'clock class. See you guys later. Alright guys, as I head up to get some coffee and to class, you can just see there are more people here. We have people as far as from Rochester, New York to other places down here. From, I think, all the way from Texas. So from Texas to Arkansas, Texas to Rochester to New York. But as you can see, it's filled. All right, guys, I'll be seeing you around. All right, guys, do you know who this guy is? Season 11 alone. This is his table. He's not here right now. We will be seeing him later on during the day. All right, guys, here he is in person, Isaiah Chuck.
Hello, hello.
This is the guy that was on season 11?
Yes, sir,
right,
season 11.
Of Alone. And this is why it's good to be at Georgia Bushcraft, because this is where you meet ladies and guys that have actually done it with experience and that can actually tell you about it. So just tell a little bit what got you into it and the excitement of being on Alone. And I know it'll take more than an hour, but
no, the whole purpose of getting on it was, you know, it was just the way I was raised, and getting to put myself to the test of true freedom. And it's just an experience that you don't get to often have in our modern day lives. And while I was out there, basically I just got to, aside from having to do all the camera work yourselves, you know, I got to relive my childhood. And getting to be a kid again, playing in the woods.
Oh yeah,
was the most rewarding thing I possibly could have ever done.
I am so glad to hear that, because I tell people the same. They say, why do you go out there every weekend? Because I enjoy the freedom. There are my rules. Of course, I have to abide by the public land rules, but it's nothing like having that freedom, that fire, you know, sleeping under the fire, preparing the food. Yeah.
Well, so, I'd heard it said that that people don't stop playing because they get old. They get old because they stop playing.
Exactly.
And getting to be in the woods and be a child at heart and work in God's creation is just ecstatic to me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. But I you know, I won't be on Alone, but I watch you guys, and I mean, it's amazing of what you guys have to go through. And being out there by yourself, you know, you're not like just downtown in the dark. You're out there in the wilderness.
Yes, sir.
I've seen the bears, I've seen the monkeys. Oh man, and it's just truly amazing. When they drop you off, it's like, okay, it's on now.
Oh, it's a very peaceful and rewarding experience, and folks say that God doesn't speak to you more when you're outdoors. It's just easier to hear him.
Okay.
And so being surrounded by God's creation and getting to have that time to yourself to heal, to reflect, and to think through everything, it's magnificent.
Thanks so much, Isaiah. Yeah. I definitely appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Come back and see me again.
Yeah. So you were in season 11.
Yes, sir. Season 11.
Okay. All right, because I watched the reruns and I'm going to be looking for him again. All right. Thank you, Isaiah. Much appreciated.
We'll see you.
Okay. There you have it, guys.
Sarge on YouTube and Instagram. My content, a lot of it is about foraging and knife reviews and some mental health first aid. My primary trade is I am a licensed trauma therapist. I work mostly with first responders. And if you think you know about first responders, I promise you, you don't until you sit down in a room with them and they start telling you their deep, dirty secrets, which I have newfound respect for anybody that does that kind of work after doing this kind of work for a few years. Thank you. With the first responder community, usually within, especially if you're in some kind of a city, it's going to happen pretty quickly where they're going to encounter something that's a life or death situation, either for them or somebody else. And when we go into an emergency, whether it be you think you're in danger or you think somebody else is in danger or you're lost in the wilderness, what happens in the brain? Who knows? I know Lizzie knows. Who else knows? What do you think happens when you hit that moment of like, oh wow, I've been walking on this trail for a while and I'm now don't know where I am? Panic. Okay. So what happens in the brain is, I'm going to pass this around. Sorry, I actually went to the wrong one.
it okay if we jump in?
Yeah, jump in. If you want to, we're doing some t-shirts at the end. If you want to put your name in for that. Okay.
Thank you.
So what happens in the brain is everything that you are seeing and hearing around you comes in through the thalamus. That's kind of the part of the brain that, if you want to think about.
I know, no telling what technology.
Could be 8 minutes.
At 11 o'clock, I got it.
Yeah. Enjoy. And I'll see you around.
I'll see you around. I don't know what tonight.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. Blue Ridge Overland Gear.
Yeah, so we make everything in Central Virginia, Bedford, Virginia. It's all U.S. made in a small shop there. U.S. materials, all that jazz, lifetime guarantee.
All right, guys, you heard it from the vendor.
I'll make a run for you. Ready?
Yeah.
That's it. It's kind of fun. Chainsaw there.
Guys, this is why you got to get to the Georgia Bushcraft meetup area. You will see things that you will not see anywhere else. And again, one of my favorites.
Machete.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
This is so awesome.
It's a rail mount for it. Pick rail mount. Will mount on your AR or any Picatinny rail mount.
And again, guys, this is, what's the
Fantasy X Survival Tools.
go online and check him out. All right. Another knife vendor, guys. Got to get to the Georgia Bushcraft.
Down the edge like this. This one is so thin, it almost disappears like a piece of paper. All right, so, excuse me. Dax, come here, and you're being rude. Come here. Sit. Stay. I would consider this a light use bushcraft knife or a skinning knife. I got spicy peanut in the throat somehow. All right, if I take this knife being hollow ground for the primary grind and so thin behind the edge, and I beat it into a piece of wood and I twist it or I hit it sideways to pop a notch out, I'm probably gonna chip out this whole blade because that's not what it's made for. This knife, I can do whatever I want. I can beat this into a piece of wood, strap on this knife, and you wear it for a day, or you wear it for 2 days. Maybe at the end of 2 days, you're like, I don't really like this. But it doesn't matter. You're gonna put it back in a drawer. Maybe you'll use it a day or two in a row, a year down the road, but you're gonna probably use it.
Hey, how you doing?
Can you stop?
But when you use the knife a lot,
Do you have anything bigger or better?
high stress situation, how
Do what now?
Do you have anything bigger or better?
and there's nothing wrong with like the roll on a belt. It's a nice little thing for that. There's nothing wrong with carrying it in a day.
2 birthdays worth.
Here's my birthday savings here. And also all my savings. Right, Dad?
Yep. Come on. Thank you. That's a good bird.
This is amazing.
Yeah, moving, all of a sudden you get gnarly.
The college ball? What's going on?
How's it going, man?
Good.
All right.
Do what?
Good morning.
Morning.
all the time. Paul told me yesterday.
This is my happy face. I look happy in a personal.
Yeah, buddy.
I took off yesterday.
No! Wait!
For breakfast when I told her that. Hey.
Come on!
Morning.
Morning.
Oh,
Look, should I straighten that out?
they wouldn't get that much time.
You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be some master to pass it on.
Get it!
Loads of fun at the Georgia Bushcraft meetup.
We had a 2011 Toyota Sienna, and I was driving to the store with a tree ruined. Yeah, I was the only one in it, thankfully. Right through the windshield. Oh,
She's actually splitting a log using a wedge.
so we ended up with this one, which has more miles on it than the other one did.
Brother, have a turn, or are you going to split all the way through?
We got a bunch of cables, we got AAA, and it's on the like. We're fine.
Well, we don't. How's it going? Yeah, you're just using your arms, right? Yeah, it was the whole idea. Just like, this will do anything, and I'll prove it. So I just hobbled around, and then it was out of work. But I still did pop on.
That's a great idea.
During my craft project, I would sit quietly and focus on
My whole career, but that's when I did go to Iraq.
When I find a spot with service, I'm going to have to pull up the pictures of the baskets I've been making. Embroidery thread, 16-gauge wire. They're about this big.
Wonderful.
Wrap the wire. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, morning. I had
Morning.
a flaxes that was fusion red.
Yeah, and he
like you have to do one thing, start rolling fluids to get the antigen out of their bloodstream. So you just like give him 6 or 7 liters of fluid over a period of 24 hours, while you continue to administer as needed anything that he needs. So the Solumedrol is going to last 24 hours, but the Benadryl won't, and the Epi won't. Yeah. So you just sort of trickle it in as you need it. I mean, you can use the Epi, set up an Epi drip, and use it as a vasopressor. Yeah. I do that a lot anyway. Yeah. Or true.
You have aspirin and Epi on you right? Aspirin and Benadryl on you right now?
I don't have aspirin.
So that's one of my. You know have you been to Wazoo? You know Wazoo Survival? Yeah. Yeah. Just one of my nerd things is with his belt. Yeah. I always have Epi and aspirin right there in my little.
It's a good combo.
Just.
Let's see. Where's the guy somewhere around here who has some of these things? I don't do any of that. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, he wanted some politics on his.
No, I was just kidding. I can give him a hammer and he can try it. There we go. Is that what it is? It's just hammered in there? No.
They're lasing it right through the
Oh, so the blade itself is still basically wrong with the
Okay. Or for I bet. No, it's just transmission raised. I'm learning so much today. I was last sheet, had a copper coating on it.
Well, they're not on your head like mine was.
That's what you're now. Sorry. Man, I don't got anything to wear there, man. All I got is
Is the sun coming out there?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no worries.
Without even looking, it's the Becker BK2. Guys, one of the greatest knives. My first bushcraft knife was a Becker BK2.
And it's a beast.
It's like a wrench.
Some of that, like I say, some of that's falling off. I don't know what percentage it was last year. But still, there's an awful lot of I don't know what. What are we looking at?
Come on, Dad.
good.
He's coming back.
I see him.
I love them. Holy moly. They're the most comfortable socks. I'm going to get That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so
backpack covers, woolly blankets, tuxedo carriers, leggings, gloves, all the fun stuff.
Where'd you get your bamboo from? The bamboo's across the street, up and back.
Okay.
How we doing? How's this year versus last? How you liking it?
Awesome, man.
Yeah?
More about information than about product. So if you catch me trying to sell something, call me on it. I started out as a carpenter almost 30 years ago. And the last 16 of that career, I built and restored dairy barns in southern Wisconsin as a timber frame carpenter. So I come at the world of axes from a professional and also as a homesteader. I've been splitting firewood since I was 7 years old. And we grew up on 2 acres of oaks. We had 120 oak trees, and all the dead limbs in the tree canopy. Instead of waiting for the fall, I'd actually climb those trees and cut them out with a bow saw when I was like 12. So I'm not saying that I'm the safest person in the world, but I have learned a lot. What I'm saying is I'm coming at it from a utility standpoint and not so much from a camper standpoint, but I know enough about the tools to know what's the best decision for tasks that you're going to run into on the campground. So let's start with some vernacular so we're all on the same page. They're all axes, but only some axes are hatchets. Not all hatchets are axes. Or all hatchets are axes, but not all axes are hatchets. So the gray area, or the line between the size, comes down to head weight, handle length, and whether or not you can easily use it with 1 or 2 hands. Okay? So even though most people are going to use a hatchet at camp, a lot of people don't realize that bringing in a full size or even a small axe is going to benefit you more than your hatchet. Okay? So I kind of want you guys to have like a little bit open mind on all this and not just be focused on hatchets. Okay? So a hatchet tops out and its head weight just under 2 pounds and its handle length at around 18 inches. So everything south of that is a hatchet. Once you get to 2 pounds and higher than 18 inches, now you're starting to get into axe territory because you can then get 2 hands on it, and 2 pounds for most people is just heavy enough to get work done, but it's so heavy that you're going to struggle to swing it one-handed for any length of time and not get tired. And then when you get tired, you become unsafe and accidents can happen. Even professional house framers will swing a 28-ounce framing hammer, and that's not even 2 pounds. So those guys who swing it all day don't want to be swinging 2 pounds all day, one-handed. So that's why once you go north of that, you get 2 hands, you're not going to be as tired, and you can be more accurate that way. So that's where the axe and hatchet world is. Now, depending on what your experience is, You may feel more comfortable using one or the other. Then maybe focus on finding one that does, say, 80% of the tasks that you're trying to accomplish, as opposed to trying to find one to do everything. There's just like with tires on automobiles. You're not going to find the same tire is going to react in this different road conditions. So you're not just getting one type. You're getting what the vehicle needs for your conditions. So just like with real estate, it's location, location, location. With axes, it's application. So figure out what you're trying to accomplish, and then from there work backwards to figure out which tool is going to give you the best results. Then you start adding in variables. And those variables are what tasks you're trying to accomplish, what type of wood are you trying to process or cut, for what purpose, what the species is, how big it is, how dry or wet it is. And I mean, there's all those things you have to kind of take into consideration when picking out a hatchet for those tasks. So, in my opinion, or my experience, I guess, most campers spend most of their time using a hatchet to process both firewood for cooking and for heat. And those are two different things. A lot of people will use both at the same time, but it's really hard to cook over a log as opposed to cooking over, you know, stuff that's an inch and a half, all chopped up, and now you get a nice coal base really quickly. Whereas you have to break down that log or those logs to then get a coal base, and sometimes your coal base is so hot that you can't elevate your food high enough to actually cook it, and now you're having a bad experience. So, so let's focus on right now for processing firewood. The other techniques I guess we'll talk about are, you know, building shelters, clearing your campsite of trees or limbs, debris, oftentimes trying to utilize what you have to either make a lean-to. I mean, there's everything from car camping to people that are spending 7 days going around the bottom of Mount Rainier and basically living off the land, or just whatever you bring in you got to take out, and there's no store to go to buy something that you need. So there's a wide range of experience that these hatchets have to account for. But if you just focus on splitting firewood for now, if we start at the bottom, work the way up, a large hatchet is defined by probably over 1.5 pounds in head weight and under 1.75 pounds, give or take. That will give you enough energy to do a lot of work. And you're going to have to put some energy into that system because it's a heavier head, but your cost benefit is going to be higher that way than taking out something that's really small, thinking that you're going to get a lot of work done, and now you're just going to be frustrated with the lack of results, and now, like I said, your experience is now lessened because of it. So that's why I lean towards getting the heaviest tool that you feel comfortable using for whatever task that you're trying to accomplish. So for splitting or for processing firewood, a lot of people think that you just got to split it down the grain. And like if you buy firewood at a gas station on the way in, a lot of state parks won't allow you to transport firewood any distance because of the emerald ash borer and other diseases and such. So you're basically stuck with having to buy either at the campground or at the gas station down the road. And oftentimes that is sometimes slab wood off a mill that's just been chopped up with a saw, or it's large pieces of oak or hickory or walnut or whatever. And in order to get a fire, you need to break some of that down to get smaller stuff, if you're not able to go into a woods to pick up tinder and smaller sticks to get the fire started. So that's why I always recommend trying to get the largest head that you feel comfortable swinging. And for me, that's about 1.75 pounds. So it's not at the 2 pound mark yet, because I don't want to burn myself out. I know I'm all over the map with these stories, but I have a friend that was a guide up in the Quetico, which is the Canadian side of the Boundary Waters. And the storms roll across that water really quickly. And at one point, they had looked at their radar and the weather on their phones. One guy had a sat phone, so they were able to get that information. And a storm was rolling in. And the first thing that people were doing was trying to close up their tents and stuff. And my buddy's like, guys, we got to find firewood. And so they have basically a 30-minute window to process enough firewood and put it under a tarp or in a plastic bag so they've got something dry to burn, because it rained for 3 days straight. And they only had one gas cook stove to work off of to boil water, you know, because they're just pulling water out of the lake. They did have a filter to do that, but yeah, he's like, we have to find firewood because we don't know how long the storm's going to go. So now obviously that's an extreme situation, but you can learn a lot from the extremes so that your experience is a little bit better while you're camping. So yeah, so processing firewood with a small hatchet, instead of trying to swing on a small piece of firewood, sometimes it's easier just to set it on top of the firewood and baton it with a larger piece of firewood. Because technically, that firewood possibly weighs more than what your axe does. So you're actually entering more energy into that system, and you're being a little bit safer that way. Also, if you have a piece of firewood, it's easy just to chop off sections at the bottom and make chips, and those chips can then be used to get that fire started. So instead of trying to think we gotta split everything down the middle and make everything nice and neat and cute, basically as long as you get a lot of surface area on that piece of firewood, you're gonna have a better chance of getting it lit, and then that small fire makes bigger fire. So yeah, when it comes to small jobs like that, this hatchet is a good option. Now we jump up to 2 pounds. And this one actually has got a wedge shape to the blade. So basically it's a good hand splitter. And I like to use this one as a splitting buddy, because I split a lot of firewood. But from a camping standpoint, this is a really good option for splitting that firewood that you get at the camp, or either at the campsites or at the gas station walk coming in. And the reason being is that it's got enough energy to get it in, and then what you can do is you can flip it over and then drive the wood onto the blade, because there's more energy inside that firewood coming down on the blade than trying to swing this for the fences and try to be accurate at the same time. So like I said, there's a lot of technique that can be used with smaller tools to basically get the job done without thinking that you just got to swing harder. Because honestly, you swing harder, your accuracy goes right down the tank. But I can go and hit something really accurate at that distance and then pick it over, slam it onto itself. So that's one technique. And then also, don't be afraid to baton your hatchet. You know, pick another piece of firewood and strike it to get that wedge to get into the wood to open it up. There's also the idea that, like, if you look around, you see stuff hanging in the trees that's dead. That stuff's probably a little bit drier than the stuff on the ground. You can collect that and then make what's called stove wood. So anything that's about the size of a 50-cent piece in diameter or smaller, and then just chunk it up into, you know, 8 or 12-inch lengths. You know, on a stump or on a log, just keep chopping, and you'll be able to process an entire branch a lot quicker than you will with a saw. And you get a nice pile, and then you can start cooking on that, or it can be the same fire for then keeping yourself warm at night. So, all right. Now we jump up to what's called a boy's axe. So a boy's axe traditionally is 2 1/4 pound head on a 28-inch handle, and this one's a little bit shorter. Here's a 28. And technically this is a small limbing or felling axe. So it has a thinner blade to it, so you can get in at an angle and cut those fibers to make chips. So it's more of a chopping axe than it is a splitting axe. But the same idea, with the added head weight, with the right technique, you can get, you know, it to split your firewood pretty easily. I like using this as an all-rounder for camp tasks, especially for clearing areas for putting up camp. If I have to build a shelter, this is a good option for that as well. Now this isn't sales pitching, but this is something that council developed, and that is we put the boy's axe both on a 28 and a 24 inch, okay? I'm a big fan of the 24 because I can still swing it almost as hard and get as much energy out of it, but my accuracy goes way up because the closer your hand is to the head, the more accurate you are. Now granted, I'm not talking this close, but once you get to the length of basically like a framing hammer or a finishing hammer, which most people are relatively accurate with because that's the tool that most people are used to swinging in their regular life as opposed to a hatchet. But when you are using a boy's axe to, like, say, buck or even fell, your target is anywhere from, say, 4 to 8 inches, which is a big target. So you can accurately, or at least close, you can swing for the fences on that larger target. Yes, sir.
What's bucking?
Bucking is when you have a log in the ground and you section it into lengths for cordwood or firewood. Bucking. Yep. But if you use the same axe to then limb that same tree that you just dropped, or you're trying to take the branches off of something, your target went from 4 or 8 inches to basically the size of a nickel. And in order to be accurate enough, most people will choke up and have a shorter swing so they can be more accurate, okay? So when I choke up, my lower hand is in this position. So by shortening the handle, now my hand is the same distance from the head, but I'm utilizing the fawn's foot. So now my hand feels more comfortable, and that tells my brain that this handle's not going to come out of my hand, and now I can swing a little bit harder without being afraid of it getting looser or getting out of control. So my energy level may have dropped maybe say 10 or 15%, but my accuracy went up like 30 or 40%. So the same idea with if you just have a longer one, just by choking up, the head's not that heavy where it's like going to really come out of your hand. By choking up, it's going to give you that option to be a little bit more accurate for more detailed work. So, and then this is what I would consider from a camping standpoint a truck axe. So it's one that you would have to, take a limb out of the road that's impeding your travels, or you've got some really good dry wood hanging up off the ground and you want to start bucking that up, because even if it's a little bit wet, if you can get a fire going underneath it, you can actually cook the water out of a larger log, especially if you split it in half, and it will burn slower, but technically you can actually cook that wood and still be able to use wood that's somewhat got some moisture in it. I'm not saying that it's going to do green wood, like it doesn't know it's dead yet kind of wood, but the stuff that's hanging up or maybe in the ground, if you can get it opened up and then put it on a fire, eventually that will burn. If anyone's had a brush pile that they've ever tried to burn and try to put out, even if there's wind or not, oftentimes there's enough heat generated in the coals to light the green stuff on fire again. It happens a lot. Like out in the farm fields, whatever, and they're clearing field lines, it happens all the time. Right, exactly. So even if it's green, doesn't mean that you're limited to, that you can't use it for firewood. So, and that's what this axe. This is 3.5 pounds on a 32-inch handle. So it's got a little bit more energy. You can use it for splitting, but it's basically designed to buck, limb, and fell. So that's the firewood side of things. Then you get into more specialized stuff like building shelters, even like the bushcrafters will try to like make trap sets. They'll make a spatula, a spoon. A lot of times they'll make a flatboard for cleaning fish. Like a little tabletop that they're making out of wood. A lot of guys like to do bow drill sets, so they need an axe to get a nice smooth, and then to get their pin, to fit their hole really nice. They gotta shave that down a little bit. So having a really small hatchet like that to get that detailed work, get a nice fine edge, is probably good. Something with a flat grind on it, so basically a chisel on a stick is what I call it, is a good option for that type of stuff. But when it comes to like shelter building, you're probably going to want something 2 pounds or heavier in order to basically take limbs of trees, saplings and stuff, get them processed. You know, if you've got the evergreens, firs, or whatever, you can take those branches off and use that as a roof system. I'm trying to think what else. Are there any camp tasks that you guys use that I haven't covered that you may need some? Because most of it's processing firewood for most people at camp. So, you guys ever built shelters or ever build a reflector for your fire?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've used like from a 13-inch small hatchet up to a 26-inch axe to build a windscreen and to build lean-to shelters.
Okay.
And I basically use the axe to fell trees and so forth. So, and to split wood. For me, using an axe is the quickest way to split wood. And I prefer using the axe as opposed to batoning with my knife.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm not opposed to guys that can do that with their knives.
Yeah.
But, you know, the knife world is about 1,000 times bigger than the axe world.
Yeah.
And if you can get even 1% of the knife guys to at least look at using an axe, those guys will then benefit from that, and then hopefully we can spread the word.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to using knives. I know that they have their place. I mean, I'm carrying one right now. But yeah, there's a lot of things that the knife world are trying to accomplish to say that they don't need to have anything but that knife. And I'm not a big fan of, you know, one and done kind of thing. I mean, I use everything on the deck here at home just for property maintenance and firewood processing for heat. I don't really go camping because I live in the woods, so when I want a vacation, I go fishing. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else. All right, did anybody have any questions? Or?
Care of the axe also is important. The care of your axe.
Oh, sure, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's important.
So everything from maintaining the handle from drying out or getting wet, which kind of seems weird that you're trying to do both, but making sure that your handle is sealed on the end grain. Most people are worried about the shaft of the axe, you know, because that's where you grip. You want that to be comfortable. But most of the moisture comes and leaves out the end grain of the tool. And sometimes you'll get an axe handle that's dipped in varnish. And a lot of people don't like that because you can get blisters from it, so you scrape it off. But that varnish basically is trying to trap the moisture. And it's also the packaging for the handle. Because if you didn't have that dipped in wax or dipped in varnish and it sat on a shelf somewhere, you don't know how many times somebody would pick that up, and if it was raw, it would be completely filthy with people's handprints, and nobody would want to buy it. So part of the reason that they varnish handles at the store is just packaging and to help maintain the moisture content. I prefer wax and beeswax based products because I feel that it will help bead the water more than most products that way. Most of my axes see more work in wet conditions, especially in the winter. I'm from Wisconsin, so I split and process firewood from October through March for the next year. Like I'm always a year ahead. I'm not trying to cut for what I've got needing for that winter.
Yeah.
And so I'm out there and the axe is in the snow, it's in the rain. Sometimes I'll leave it out overnight and forget about it, you know, by accident. So having something like a beeswax or a wax base, in my opinion, is the best for maintaining it. But then it also gives a relatively good grip, but not so much where it's pulling on the pads of your hands where you're going to get hot spots or blisters. Some tung oil will do that to you. Boiled linseed oil is good because of the feel, but boiled linseed oil is good for like smithing hammers and stuff that doesn't see weather, it just sees your sweat. Like I said, once, if you boil linseed oil something, you have like a couple coats on it, stuck it outside overnight, you're gonna have raised grain on that handle the next day.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't usually get that with the wax products. It doesn't be able to get the water in there to do that. So I don't really have any recommendations for that outside of, there's a company called Walrus Oil. They make a good axe oil that goes on the head and the handle.
Yeah.
It's consistency of like honey, but it's a mixture of oil, paraffin wax, and beeswax. And in my opinion, that is probably the best for protecting, and it feels the best once it's cured and dried. It doesn't feel slimy, but at the same time, you can tell that it's protected. It's also good for the head. I'm not a big fan of worrying about the head unless it's going to be sitting in a puddle for like 2 or 3 years. It's okay if your axe head gets wet. A little bit of 3-in-1 oil and a green 3M pad will take most of that away. Maintaining the edge is probably a little more important than maintaining the rust on the head. A sharp axe is a safe axe, which is kind of counterintuitive. But if this isn't sharp and I strike, it may glance and hit me or hit something else. But if it's sharp, it'll stick. And it's not going to do anything but hit that wood. As a timber framer, I had a rule for my chisels, is that the chisel only gets to touch the wood, my hand, or the sheath. That's it. It never gets set down. If it's set down, it goes back into the sheath. Because all it takes is it get bumped off a beam and hit the ground, and now I have to resharpen that chisel, which could take upwards of an hour to get it where it needs to be again. Now granted, axes and hatchets are a little bit more forgiving that way, because you really don't need them to be that sharp, but the concept is the same. So if you just think of it as a really sharp implement on a stick, that this edge shouldn't touch anything besides the wood, your hand, or the sheath that it came in. Other than that, it shouldn't be set down on the ground. Now that's an extreme. Like I don't have a problem with throwing mine on the ground, but I also know how to sharpen. So it's the people that are still learning how to sharpen may want to maintain that edge as long as you can, and then in the process learn how to sharpen. So I know I've been all over the map with all this, but I got a lot of information in my head. Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns? What's the technique of sharpening? You use like round stones for sharpening?
Okay, it's a good question. So it all depends on where you're starting from when you're going to sharpen. In my opinion, sharpening is 3 different stages. It's maintaining or setting the bevel, sharpening, and then honing. And each of those can be started and stopped at any point depending on your application of the tool. There's a difference between splitting with a 7-pound maul that doesn't need to be razor sharp compared to a carving axe where you're really trying to get, feather sticks, showing off, training somebody, doing a YouTube video or whatever. So there's a wide range. So I'm a fan of using a file to set the bevel, whether it be a flat bevel or convex. I like to use what's called a draw file technique, where basically instead of going this way with the file, you actually flip it around. The handle is your left hand. You pivot it, and then you drag it across the bevel. And then as you slide the file forward at each, you can then create multiple passes, and that's what gets your convex edge set with a file. Okay. The next step after that, you can use a puck. I recommend a dual grip puck. So you've got, like, say, if it was sandpaper, it'd be 220 and 400. So the 220 is going to basically take some of those file marks out, and then the 400 takes some of the 220 marks out. So you're basically replacing scratches with new scratches, and to the point where your scratches are so fine that you can't see that they're scratches anymore. Now, most working axes don't need to get that sharp. I like to take mine to what I call utility sharp or working sharp, which if it was sandpaper, it'd be about 600 grit. You can just barely see a reflection in that. It's kind of like a satin look, but you don't have to go crazy on it.
If you want to get into carving, then you may want to jump up to almost 2,000. But then that is never seeing any dirty wood. It's only seeing, you know, green, clean wood. But yeah, so oftentimes what I'll do is I'll take a Sharpie and paint the bevel with the Sharpie, and then I can know where I am and where I'm going by removing that paint, especially on a already sharpened or filed edge. You can't see where you were and weren't with that puck anymore unless you put that marker on there. And then you can flip it over and do the same thing to get to that 400. After about the 400 puck grit, most axes are probably going to be relatively sharp. As long as you're getting your apex, where both bevels are coming together, as long as that apex is really refined, that's the important part. Because even a 30-degree bevel can be sharp. Sharp doesn't mean thin. Sharp means your apex is coming to a very fine edge, okay? Here's an example. If you took like a regular straight razor, like a utility razor, and you held it by the ends and pushed really hard, that's really thin, but you're not cutting yourself. Flip it sideways and push down, you're gonna cut yourself. So it's not the thinness, because that razor blade is really thin to begin with. It's not the thinness that's cutting you, it's the refined edge that cuts you. So if you think of that from a knife standpoint or an axe standpoint, as long as your apex is refined, I can shave with a 30-degree bevel if I get it sharp enough. I like to take it a little bit past sharp, or where I think I need it, so that when it starts to dull, it's back to where I'm expecting it to be. As opposed to sharpening to where you think it is, you start using it and it starts to dull, now you're at a disadvantage. So I always like to sharpen just a little bit further than I think I'm gonna need, so that it wears back to where it needs to be, not back to where I can't use it anymore. Normally, if I need to touch up an edge, it's only gonna take me 10 minutes to do that, whether it's in the workshop or in the field. There's a technique that I developed that's based off a couple other techniques, and I know we're getting off the topic of what axe to use, but sharpening is an important part of what you're doing out there. There's a technique called mouse pad sharpening for knives. And what guys will do is they'll sit at their desk in front of their computer, put the mouse pad right on the edge, put a piece of sandpaper on that pad, and then they take their knife, and as they draw their knife across that sandpaper, the mouse pad conforms the sandpaper to the convex bevel on their knife, and they get complete contact, as opposed to trying to go flat to curve to sharpen. You go curve to sharpen, okay? There's also a technique where you use a piece of plate glass and different grits to sharpen chisels. And I'm a timber framer, so I would sharpen my chisels that way, because that plate glass is dead flat. And my angle on my chisel is also dead flat. So that's the best way to sharpen a flat surface, is use another flat surface to do it. But I wanted to sharpen my axes, which mostly have convex edges. So what I did is I took a drywall pad, which has the same foam padding on it like a mouse pad does, and put different grits of sandpaper on it. And instead of taking the tool to the sandpaper, I take the sandpaper to the tool. So I'll put it in a vise, grab it right here, and I got that drywall pad's got a handle on it, so it's nice and safe. And I'll go like this in circle motion. I'm only pushing forward, just like when you're filing. You want to push file, you push, pick it up, and start over again. You're not going back and forth with it, okay? So as I'm doing that, I'm basically replacing scratches with new scratches, and then I do both sides. Normally one piece of sandpaper, if I flip it around that same handle, I can use one piece, which is a third of a sheet, for each stage of sharpening, and then I can take it as far as I want. And then I also have a leather strop that I put a piece of denim on the back of it, so it's got tails on it, and that strop then works the same way. And I can, on some of my axes, I can actually fillet a piece of copy paper.
What?
Yeah. Like I can slit a piece of copy paper, not just cut through it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking this way. So that sanding technique, I think, has become very popular. If you backed up on your grit, then you're causing problems. So always go up in grit as you go through your process. There's a video. If you search sharpening an axe with rooster, there's a couple videos I produced with that technique. It goes through the tools, supplies. It's pretty cheap to do. You don't really need really high-tech equipment or anything. So if you search sharpening axe with rooster, you'll probably find one. The thumbnail is of me up against a brick wall in the basement of a building. That's probably the latest one I've done, which is probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Is that on YouTube? Like YouTube?
Say it again? YouTube? On YouTube, yes. Yep. Yep. Sharpening axe with rooster. So, I have cards if anybody wants to contact me. If you got any questions, or if you're in the field someday, or 3 or 4 years down the road, you got a question about sharpening or about axes, feel free to give me a call.
We're going to look at trees. We're going to look at how to use trees. We're going to look at how to cut and kill some things that probably need to be cut and killed, and how to preserve things that should never be cut and killed. Okay, so we'll talk about all that. For those that I've never had the opportunity to meet you, my name is Craig Cottle. I'm the director of Nature Lawn School out of Kentucky. We're very fortunate to teach a lot of wilderness skills: survival, land navigation, tracking, animal tracking, man tracking, seer, bushcraft, all the things to a range of people. Very, very, very fortunate. Contracts with the federal government for the United States military, as well as several branches of federal law enforcement and man tracking, and hundreds of civilians every year. So it's good to be with you all here at Georgia Bushcraft. We're going to talk about trees. Okay, how many of you all feel, just show me with a raise of hands, I feel really good identifying a tree.
A tree, yeah.
A tree. 5
A
trees.
tree.
10. 20. All right, raise your hand if you know how to use a dichotomous key. We're going to use the dichotomous key today then, because I want you to know how to use that. Because if you know how to use a dichotomous key, you can identify any tree in the world if you get the right key. I'll show you how to do it. It gets into that all smarty pants academic look at forestry and all the things, but it's really one of the greatest tools I've ever been taught how to use. It took me from being a woodsman, a practical person in the woods, to having a much better, much further and thorough understanding of things that are out here. Okay, there's a dichotomous key for everything. Dichotomous key for stars, for clouds, for trees, for plants, for snakes, all the things that are out here. Basically, the way a dichotomous key works is you have 2 questions about the thing that you're looking at. You answer one of those questions, and whichever one you answer to the affirmative takes you down a path until you eventually get to, this is a Quercus alba, which is the white oak tree, or whatever. Okay, now come on in, you all. Y'all need to get on in here. Get on up in here. I like them people in the back. Gotta talk too loud. Sean, are you coming late to my class, bro? Sorry. Dang, son. Gosh. So when I say that and describe that, it sounds like some of you kind of went, yeah, I know what that is now. That's a dichotomous key. I've got several that we're going to look through. There's a couple that are really, there's dichotomous keys. Ooh, okay, so the one we're going to use can find any tree on this part of the country in eastern North America. Okay? You probably, whatever state you're from, can go to your state, primarily forestry college, and they're probably going to have a key that looks at just the trees in your state. The reason I recommend that to you, and I've got some from Kentucky to show you, when I look at the trees from Kentucky, I'm only looking at the 130 trees that we have in Kentucky, instead of the few hundred that we might have in eastern North America along the Cumberland Plateau and Appalachia. Okay, so that helps me focus my attention. Other than, who's from Alabama? Anybody from Alabama? You have more trees in Alabama than I do in Kentucky, and that's the only state I can say that about.
Everybody else has a dwindling number of trees below that 130 range. So you might have only a dozen wherever you're from. So it makes it a little bit easier, and I like that. Don't let that hurt your feelings to know, okay, I'm only looking at a small group of them. That's how you get started, and once you know those, you can go somewhere else and start to identify trees in another way. Does this sound cool? Everybody understand what I'm saying? Come on in, have a seat if you want to. So one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to talk about an overview of everything out here. If you're starting to try to identify trees, most people, one of the first things they're going to do is look at the leaves, right? Most of us look at the leaves to help identify what it is that we're looking at. Another piece that we can look at is the bark, and we're going to go around and we're going to touch trees, we're going to look at trees, talk about different characteristics, try to pick up on. We can also look at the buds. So the buds are the leaves that are going to be leaves next year, and they're on all the trees right now. All buds come out late summer, early fall. Most people think they come out in the spring. They don't. They come out late summer, early fall, and they're there all winter long. So when your trees that lose leaves are out here, you can identify trees by the buds. So we're going to look at those because we can see those right now. And we can take a look at that while we're here. You can also look at the fruit that comes off of a tree to help you identify it. That's your, when I say fruit, it's not like most of us think it's fruit like an apple or a pear or something like that. Anything that is, think of it like a food source. If it's an acorn, if it's a hickory nut, if it's a beech nut, if it's a maple, it's got the helicopter seeds on it, which are called samaras. That's a food source because it has a seed that you can eat, okay? You can use those to identify trees. You can also utilize location, which is going to be probably a new topic for you. If you've never dug into trees, a lot of really accomplished people that are in the woods can look at where a tree is located and it starts to indicate the species of the tree. I love sharing at least one example, and that is your Quercus alba, which is your white oaks. They have to have a lot of water. So it's rare that you're going to see a white oak growing on top of a ridgetop. On top of a ridgetop, you're going to find your red oaks and sometimes your chestnut oaks because they don't require as much water to grow. So if I'm walking along a ridge, I don't have to think about, in Kentucky, I don't have to think about the 12 or 13 different types of oaks that we have. I just have to think about the ones that are on a ridgetop that can do really well when it's dry, right? So that kind of stuff is helpful because a white oak, for example, likes to grow in a drainage where there's a lot of water. So if there's any place down here where there's a runoff, that's the most likely place, like right over there behind us all, or some of you all over here. There's a drainage right down through there. That's where I'm going to be looking for my white oaks. So for those of us here that are interested in survival and bushcraft, why is that important? I hope it's obvious that squirrels, deer, turkey, the things that we might hunt, trap, or gig, or otherwise try to find for survival, like white oaks. So why would we not look and know where the white oaks are? This is what the nuts and bolts of this class is for. Because most of us in survival and bushcraft are just looking for trees and wood. When in fact, if we know how to identify different species, even without the leaves, then we can find the species of wood that burns hotter. I mean, how many of you all build fire? Raise your hand. How many of y'all build fire because you want it to be cold? Nobody, okay? So why wouldn't you like to identify the tree species because you know, hey, I need to build a fire that's hot and burns fast because I'm starting a fire in the rain and I want something that burns hot and fast and has some sort of resin in it, so I need to know my pines and my cedars, my hemlocks, and the things like it. And what do I need when I'm putting that fire together that I'm going to burn all night long in my shelter so it stays burning? I don't have to feed it all night long. That's when I put those really dense oaks or hickories or something like that on. So I need to know those species, and by the time we get out of here, I want to show you how you can do that for any tree in the world so that you can do that in your environment. Question, comment, concern?
You said any tree in the world. I was just making sure a Jersey resident was...
Jersey resident?
Yeah.
You're allowed to stay. It's okay. We're not going to kick you out just because you told us that out loud. You had to bring that up.
Oh,
Anybody else here from New Jersey?
We were saying trees, Georgia trees, so I didn't know if I should be here.
No, you'll be fine. No. Matter of fact, There's some trees that are here that I have in Kentucky, but there's a lot of trees here that I don't have in Kentucky. So I do the same thing when I come down here. I have to, what I'm getting ready to share with you all is what I have to do when I come here trying to get ready for classes and stuff of that nature. That sound good? Sound like the kind of thing you're looking for? Fantastic. All right, so there's two incredibly broad classifications of trees. What most of us are going to call evergreens, maybe more properly termed conifers or something of that nature. That are these trees right here that are literally going to stay green 12 months out of the year. The trees that have needles, or, well, we'll look at several out here today. There's different kinds out here of different conifers. And then you have your broadleaf trees, what a lot of people call your deciduous trees. The trees that are going to lose their leaves, they're going to fall and go from there. Keep in mind that there are anomalies in every category that we're going to talk about today. Meaning there's things that don't follow perfectly what I'm going to tell you because it's nature, and nature, quite frankly, doesn't care what I think about it. Okay? They don't care what the nature guides say. They just don't care. So nature does what it wants to do. So when we come across those things that are outside the scope of the regular data, the anomalies and what's out here, I'll try to point them out so you know that that's one of those things. Okay. So we have the conifers, we have the deciduous, and then surrounding us right now we have a lot of that stuff. See all this stuff right here? It's the bushy type stuff. That is not a tree. That's what we would call a woody stem plant. Trees are a woody stem plant, but I'm not going to call that a tree because it doesn't have a primary stem that grows up. It has multiple stems at the base that spread out, and that is an invasive species called privet. Okay, so we're going to ignore that for the sake of tree identification. But the reason I like to point out something like privet is that this is an invasive species, and it's very problematic for it to be here. Meaning if they don't continue to do what they're doing where they've cut a bunch of it down, you'll have what we have right here where it basically takes over the ground. Okay, and because of that, anytime you want to do you bushcrafters, you want to do a bushcraft project that requires a bunch of woody stem plants, then always choose your invasives so that you're being a good steward of the land. Okay, I'm not a sunshine, peace and love and hug on and kiss on trees and stuff like that, but you can be guaranteed that I am a steward of the land, because in my opinion, if I take care of the land takes care of me. And why wouldn't I want to do the things that take care of the land so that it's not just us here at Bushcraft, Georgia Bushcraft Expo 2025, and somebody else can't be doing it here 100 years from now? Why would we not try to maintain this property so that we can do that? Okay, so wherever you are, you need to keep that in mind. And again, these invasives, if I'm building a trap, like if I'm teaching a survival class and I'm teaching twitch up snares or I'm teaching some sort of bird trap, I'm gonna have my students cutting down bush honeysuckle in Kentucky because we don't have as much privet there. If I was teaching it here, I'd tell you all to cut this stuff down all day long and cut as much of it as you want to. That's where you practice your knife skills, that's where you practice your axe skills, saw skills, all those things. And you do not have to feel bad at all at cutting it down because it's not a problem. You're actually helping the environment by doing it. Okay? That's one of the things I want to get across to you. But we have a lot of that around here, and so we need to understand the difference between your primary stem organisms like this and your multi-stemmed organisms like those right there that are privet. How we doing so far?
Great.
What have I said that somebody has a question about? Yes.
Might be kind of sideways on topic, but you were mentioning that the oak trees prefer like a lot of water. So if you have a ground that you're trying to buy that is like in a floodplain, but you want to make it livable, would planting like oak trees help make it a better space to build?
There are some of this, I'll be frank with you, some of the terminology I use is Kentucky redneck, because I'm from Kentucky and I make no apologies that I'm a woodsman and I feel good about it and I use certain words. But there are what I call water dogs. Trees that really love water. And trees like a sycamore, which is a water dog, willow, which is a water dog, they absolutely love water. As a matter of fact, they thrive in it. And they will come up whether you plant them there or not. So once you learn what your water dogs are, and there's no technical term for it, you just know. And here's how you know. This is what I've been trying to get across in all my classes. How do you know this stuff, Craig? Well, or how do you all know this stuff after we leave? Well, you get outside.
Oh my gosh, if all you do is come to a lecture and listen to me or Mr. Canterbury or one of the other 100 instructors over here, and then you just write a few notes and then you just never do nothing with it, well, good on you. But it'd be better, and what I'm telling you and what I hope and I'm trying to implore on you is you take this knowledge and you get outside and try to figure it out. So, go back to your original question. Go to where creeks are and try to identify the trees. What's there? I'm telling you right now, sycamores are going to be there if they grow in this area, okay, or your area. Now, I want to clarify something that you said, that I said that I probably was confusing. Oaks don't all love water, but white oaks do. So I didn't want to confuse you about that. So some individual species, which in subspecies of every tree, is going to have certain character traits that are important. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Another question? Any questions, you all? I'll do this often. I'll stop often because I want to make sure that you all are not having questions. Did you raise your hand? All right, first thing to remember then, that'll help. You don't need a tree guide for this, but remember the mnemonic called Mad Buck. Mad Buck. Everybody say Mad Buck.
Mad Buck.
Thank you. Mad Buck.
Mad Buck.
Mad Buck is a mnemonic to help you remember some things about trees. M-A-D Buck. Maple, ash, dogwood, buckeye. Mad Buck. So in your mixed hardwood forest running from Georgia all the way to Maine along the Cumberland Plateau, what most of us call Appalachia. Anybody here say Appalachia? We'll never say it again. Appalachia is the way to say it. Anybody that says Appalachia is wrong. Put that in your notes.
Wait for you, right?
And it's not acorn, it's acre. I know that's a stretch. Put that in your notes right now. A-K-E-R-N. All right, so in all seriousness, Mad Buck helps us. Maple, ash, dogwood, buckeye. So I need a volunteer. I love volunteers. Come on, get on up here. Stand right here for me. Face that way. He's got his arms up. What's your name? Brian. Brian's a great tree. See how his arms are right here and right here? And this is the stem of the tree. This is what we refer to as opposite one another. See how his arms are crossed? Good job. Golf clap. Art. See a little proof. All right, so basically, and I'm going to have you all go out and find this stuff, okay? So basically what we're looking for when we go out on this first little foray is we're going out and looking for trees that when you see where the leaf stems come down and meet the branch on the tree, they're opposite of one another, just like his arms just were, okay? The trees that you see that do that are maple, ash, dogwood, or buckeye. Now everything else is going to be alternate. So let me borrow you.
Don't break my arms.
Stick one arm out. All right, I'm going to be the other. See how this arm is here? This is a leaf stem. Now he's got another one that's down the branch and it's sticking out over here. See that? That's what we call alternate. Golf clap. You make a good model. So the alternating is the other thing that we're going to find out there. You're either going to find opposite or alternating. Opposite is going to give you maple, ash, dogwood, or buckeye, and then alternating is going to give you all the rest. And that's where the dichotomous key is going to come into great use. Okay. Is everybody with me on that? So, are there a lot of those species here? No. Are there some here? Yes. So a couple of the tools that you'll find that'll be useful for you in the future when you want to start doing this. Like I just did a mass survey with biologists with Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife recently, where we went out and we were studying how many acorns there were on the trees and how many beech nuts were on trees in certain areas. The way we do that is we take a little monocular or binoculars and we study the outermost portion of the tree and go, okay, a third of that tree is covered in nuts, 2/3 of it is, 3/4 of it is. and then we move on to the next tree. So, in all sincerity, looking up and trying to find leaves on a tree, somewhere down the road, having a pair of binoculars or a monocular might be a useful tool for you. Okay. Sometimes you can do it by putting your camera up and zooming, but it's not real clear. So the monocular will help you more than anything else. Does everybody know what I'm asking you to do? Because we're going to take about 10 minutes. I want you to walk out in the woods. Please, if you don't care, don't walk that way. I don't want to interrupt Mr. Canterbury's class. So let's kind of walk out in the woods and try to find one of those trees. You may or may not. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. If you find one, bring me a little branch so we can show everybody and come back.
Find food and get food quickly. And
Survival on the Water's Edge by Dave Canterbury.
that should be your last problem. Everything else should be a priority over that. Once you get into a little bit longer term situation, a week or more, or if you're staying somewhere for a week or more, camping for a week or more, then you may want to think about fishing and getting food on the water's edge. And the reason we say that survival begins on the water's edge is because basically everything has to go to the water. Right?
Survival begins on the water's edge.
Anything that lives off of it, they got to have water. So it doesn't matter if it's mammals, if it's birds, if it's reptiles, amphibians, terrapins, crustaceans, mollusks, it doesn't matter. They're going to be in or around the water. So your best bet for finding food in any scenario is going to be close to water. And something that's already in the water is generally going to be easier because it's stuck in one place. All you have to do is get to it. Now there's lots of different ways that you can harvest this food off the water. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about today is what do we want to carry with us, or what should we pack with us or have with us if we plan to collect food resources off the water's edge. And so for this discussion, what we're really talking about is we're not talking about the 10-pound bass in the middle of the lake. We're talking about the 4 and 5 inch bluegill that are 10 feet off the bank. That's the water's edge. Now you can increase your odds a little bit, get further out. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But in general, we're not talking about fishing real deep water. We're talking about fairly shallow water, creeks, streams, shallow rivers, ponds, things like that. Those are the kind of scenarios we're talking about in this sense of the word, okay, on the water's edge. The other thing you have to remember is that a lot of trees that are medicinal and edible, and a lot of plants that are both medicinal and edible, also grow in and around water. So there's a huge advantage in any scenario, whether it's camping, whether it's a hunting camp, whether it's a fishing camp, whether it's a survival scenario, or whether you're just going out with your buddies for a week camping. Being somewhere around the water's edge is going to be advantageous to you in lots and lots of ways, not to mention the fact that there's water right there. The one thing you have to remember with camping or setting up a base camp around the water's edge is you should always, or you should never, put your campsite or put your camping equipment anywhere below the high water mark. The high water mark is what you want to find. When you get ready to set up a camp around the water, where's the high water mark at? I'm not going below that, especially if it's a river or a creek, because you have no idea what's going on upstream from that. It could flood overnight. I have been in places, for sure, that the water has rose 2 foot in a matter of a minute or 2 minutes. And it can get a lot worse than that depending on where you're at in the U.S. Obviously, we're having a lot of problems with flooding throughout the U.S. these last few months, and that's part of the problem. So you've got to find that high water mark and just hope the water won't exceed that, but at least you're pretty safe there. Once you get to that point and you've set up your camp, now you've got to think about the things that I'm going to put in my kit to collect food sources off the landscape. Now, if you're talking about and I don't like the word necessarily survival kits, bug out bags, inch bags, I don't like all that stuff. Because to me, there's no reason for me to take anything different from one bag to another. One bag is the same as every other bag to me. It's a matter of, if I'm gonna sleep, I'm putting sleep gear in there. If I'm gonna hunt, I'm putting hunting stuff in there. If I'm gonna fish, I'm putting fishing stuff in there. If I'm gonna hike, I'm gonna make sure I got stuff to hike. And depending on the weather, I'm gonna put stuff in there warm enough to keep me warm. And it doesn't really matter whether I'm leaving the house, coming back to the house, going camping in my Jeep, or whatever the case may be, that bag's gonna be the same. It's not gonna be any different, all right? The only thing that's gonna change is the longevity. If I'm gonna be there longer, I may have more ammunition. If I'm gonna be at a longer term base camp, I may have...
Good morning again to all you wonderful YouTubers, content creators, subscribers, and everyone in general. Well, this is the 3rd day of the 2025 Georgia Bushcraft Meetup. And as you may be able to hear in the background, a lot of participants are now packing up to head back to their residence. However, I still have 2 more classes to take today. I'm going to try to make those 2 classes today and do a walk in the woodlands, and then I'll probably be out of here. But guys, yesterday was a fantastic day. Again, I took some classes given by Tom Saj of prepping by Sarge. I took a class from Craig Cottle, which was very good, learning to identify trees. I took another class on which axe to take to the bush. There's just so much information that you will learn here. These are classes that I took for the very first time, and what I can say about these classes is that they really let you know what you don't know, and that only drives me to get back into the bush as quick as possible and start utilizing the knowledge that I gathered from the instructors here. I also attended a class given by Dave Canterbury on water on the edge, and when you think about it, it just makes so much sense. So simplistic. It was just fantastic. So guys, I would strongly encourage you, if you can make it to the Georgia Bushcraft, the next one will be in April 2026, and then again in November 2026. I would highly encourage you to come here and just check it out. We had a fireside chat every night right here at right next to my tent, and some of the individuals that you meet, I mean, I know I met with instructors. There had to be 1,000 years of knowledge that was passed out. I mean, you have representatives from SC, you have individuals that have been instructors in the country, out of the country, instructors that are fishermen. They all have some type of specialty, especially instructors that have information on medicinal and so forth. But it's just been really great. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and get up. Still have some purchasing to do, and I'll see you around. Stay safe.
It's fair. It's kind of a miracle that I ever saw season 1 myself to get and look into it to say like, oh, this is something that I would like to do. I'm Carly Fairchild. I was on season 3 and season 5 of Alone, and season 3 was about almost 10 years ago, 2016 when it happened. And a little background on me, I started in survival skills when I was a teenager. I went to summer camps through the Tracker School in New Jersey and got exposed to not just the skills of fire making, shelter making, basketry, how to purify water, edible medicinal plants, but I got exposed to people who were really passionate about what they were doing. And that, as a teenager, was really appealing. Because other walks of life, it's like people are just like head down doing the thing. But to have people who are excited and animated and love what they're doing, even if it's in a quiet way. My most engaging mentors were not necessarily the most animated people, but also the people who are just quietly, like, always working on some cordage, like always asking about plants. And that instilled in me a desire to really follow my own passions in life. And no matter what pathway that took me, to do what brought me a feeling of aliveness. And when I saw Alone on TV the first time, I saw it as a way of having an experience that I really wanted to have. I wanted to go out and test my skills and see how long that would take me, like how far that would take me while I was out there. And I wanted to show at that time, there was other survival shows out there, but a lot of them came from this perspective of the earth is here as a resource to take and to use and to not think twice about it. And the lineage of skills that I came from was from a relationship building. So land is here to build relationship, and it's a two-way street. It'll provide for me, and I will help take care of it. Now, humans aren't just this parasite on the earth. There might be parasitic things we are doing, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to build a relationship and to be a caretaker. And so I wanted to show that to the world. And I thought Alone was a great way to meet that need as well. I was living in Alaska at the time, and the previous seasons had been on Vancouver Island. Pacific Northwest, I was like, great, my backyard, I got this. I go through the application process and learn that the show this season was going to be in Patagonia. And I was sitting there, and in my head, I said, I know that's not just a clothing company, but I have no idea where that is. I learned Patagonia is in South America. It's part of Argentina and Chile. It's a regional name. Like here in the States, we have the Southeast. It's not just one place. Yeah, would you mind Velcroing that even? And I was going to be on the Argentina side. Learned I would be on a lake in the mountains. I tried to study, I tried to research online. It's really hard from a whole other country to research things online and to find resources of what plants are there and then what are the uses for plants I had never heard about before. But I found this database of just names, hundreds of pages of just names, listed alphabetically by Latin name. So I skimmed it for familiar faces, right? Familiar names, like looking at a list of a gathering. You're just looking for your friends' names. I was looking for my friends' names. I was like, oh, Urtica diosha, stinging nettle. Whoa, there could be stinging nettle there. I love stinging nettles. It's such an amazing edible plant. Scan. I literally think maybe that was the only one that I found that I recognized. Like, all right, well, I'll go. Like, learn something new, really put my skills to the test going to a place I've never been and know literally nothing about. And I went with 10 items. You're allowed to take 10 items with you on a show. And I've got 4 of the items here on the table that literally were with me there for all 86 days. My water bottle, cleaned up a little, because I still use it a lot. But every day, I was getting lake water, putting it in my fire to boil, with the plastic lid off, just doing like 2 little screws, enough to take it off the fire, and then unscrew it so it could cool off for a bit. I would tend to do this every evening, and then I could also have a hot water bottle to take to bed with me. My cooking pot, cleaned and used again and again and again in my life. I love this pot because it had the locking lid. So if it fell over, it wouldn't completely spill out. It had a little hook. I would often use this stick to take it on and off the fire. I also had another one that hung at an angle, where the stick was like shoved into the ground at an angle for my pot to hang on.
Did you bring the stick or was it there?
I got this one there. Yeah, had a spun curve to it. Natural pot holder, finger upper. I took with me a ferro rod. This is what a ferro rod looks like after 86 days. I did not use this scraper. I did not work very well. I used the back of my knife to make the sparks. And the knife, anybody recognize this knife? An LT Wright Genesis. And fun fact, Mike at River's Edge Cutlery in Columbus, Ohio, this knife was bought at his store. Because I grew up in Columbus and I was visiting my dad before the show and trying to find some of the items I couldn't find in remote Alaska. And trying to find a knife that I would trust for an unknown amount of time. And I went to all the big box stores, held all the knives I could, and none of them felt good in my hand. I went to River's Edge Cutlery and I saw this knife, and without even holding it, I was like, that's the knife. I don't think I even picked up any other knives in the store that day. Like, I was like, that's the one. And I just felt super natural in my hand. I love the weight of it. Love that it has a sharpened spine. It works better for ferro rod striking than the other one that came with it. So this was by my side. So those are 4 of my items. And I also took with me a sleeping bag, a saw, an axe, 7, a set of fishing line and hooks were a combined item. And I took 2 food rations with me. And to be honest, when I was trying to pick my 10 items, I thought that was a lot. Because from my lineage of the tracker school, learning survival skills, a lot was taking a knife and a water bottle to go out for a trip. So I was like, if I could have taken 8 items, like 8 food items, I might have taken 8 food items and just the knife and the water bottle. But they put a limit, you can only take 2. So I took 2 and 8 other items with me. A ration, it changes every season what they allow. I took dried beans and pemmican. So pemmican is rendered fat, dried meat, and berries. Ancient recipes. All right, scramble, figure out all my things. Fly to Patagonia, go out to this remote, some like fishing lodge setup was our base camp for a period of time of interviews and learning how to use a camera. I had no idea. I wasn't filming myself in life. So how to use the camera, how to, not just one camera, but the big camera, the little handheld camera, the GoPros, the mic, the wireless mic, the battery packs, the memory cards, how to maintain gear in the field, because I had to do that. There's no film crew to follow me around or to tell me what to do. It was very appealing. And so it was just crammed packed, full of that. And then finally the morning came of, okay, launch day. Very foggy. Like you couldn't see more than like 20 feet where we were supposed to take off. And we were getting blown out by helicopter. So it was like a lot of hours, an hour of waiting in the fog, in the cold, early in the morning for things to clear up so we could actually. And I was going into it knowing I wasn't sure when I would eat again. Right, that final breakfast, you might think would be like celebratory, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna eat as much as I possibly can. But my nervous system was so jittery that I couldn't. Like, I ate like half a breakfast burrito. I was like, I cannot. Finally, people are leaving one by one. The helicopter. I'd never been on a helicopter before either, so this was a new experience. There was 2 of us left, and I was like, okay, I hope I'm the last person to go. Like, would be a great sign, and I'd be the last person to come back. Well, I was the second to last person to go, and I got in the helicopter, and the newness of a helicopter was totally lost on the stress and anxiety and excitement of what I was about to do. Like, meh, I'm in a helicopter. Oh well. Fly up over over this ridge, see a giant snow glacier peaked mountain, see a lake down below me, and I'm just like, my awareness is just like, okay, where's the lake? Can I see an inlet? Where is this? Can I see anything from up here? While having no idea where I'm landing. Right? Like a massive, like, trying to just gather information. I landed on a little island. I was like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. And then the boat comes around the corner, and I got on the boat, and then they boated me to shore. I was like, okay, this is a little better, but it's like I'm trying so hard to figure it out that I'm almost not in the moment, because I'm just trying so hard to grasp information. Get on the shore, they haul out giant pelican case of gear, my backpack of items. Bye. Boat takes off around the corner. I'm like trying to film while this is happening. And it's like, okay, the sound of the boat disappears. I can't hear it any longer. And I take a deep breath. Okay, I'm here. And in the lineage of the Tractor School, the sacred order of survival is shelter, water, fire, food. Because our bodies can only live a short amount of time in extreme situations without shelter. Only a few days without water. Fire can be helpful for water, helpful for many different things. So it goes third on the list. Keep us warm, keep us safe. And then food, our bodies can go the longest without, so it's 4. So okay, which one do I start with? And I was like, well, actually there's one thing before those 4. And that was to set my intention for my experience and to introduce myself to the land. I had never been there before. And so I sat down on that pebble beach and just took a moment to breathe, to let everything settle in my nervous system, and to look out on the beautiful lake and the mountains coming up on the other side of it, and say, hi, I'm Carly. I'm here to have this survival experience, and I want to be here as long as I can. And I want to be here in a way that hopefully leaves this area better than when I came. And then I got up and went to look for where I'd spend the night. It was late afternoon when I landed. I found a little spot, had a little safety tarp. A couple of safety items because they wanted to make sure we could keep the camera equipment dry while we were there. So I had a little like 4x6 tarp, no stakes. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna set this up. So I carved some sticks to make a little A-frame, tall enough to make the A-frame. You know, make a point big enough to go through the grommets, but fat enough it couldn't sink through. Same for staking out the corners. I'd heard that there was wild boar there, which was both really exciting and really terrifying because I had no experience with wild boar. And I was like, I don't want one to come through the, you know, like, and gore me in the night. What can I do? Oh, there's some thorny brush. So I took the thorny brush and I put them on either side of the openings of my tarp as a deterrent. Okay, I've got a fear, but there's something I can do. And then I like eases that fear a little bit. Okay, I got my shelter. Water. Need water. I need fire to make the water safe to drink because I don't want to risk charring you for $500,000. So I went down to the lake and there was this log going out, half submerged. And I walked out towards the end of it to dip my water bottle in. Because at the shore, there's stuff floating and sediment kind of kicked up. But out a little ways, it was clear. So I could just dip it in. All right, I got water. Now I need to make fire. I've got a ferro rod, but no tinder. No fire plug stashed in my cash cap. Like, I gotta make it all here. Look around. Oh, there's this tree that looks like a cedar tree. It's it's got kind of the shreddy bark on it. So I take my knife over and I scrape the outer bark to make a tinder bundle. And I gather a bunch of little tiny twigs, bigger twigs, get my fire structure built, and then start trying to light it with a ferro rod. An interesting thing, I had never used a ferro rod before applying for a loan because I had learned fire by friction, bow drill, hand drill, which I felt pretty good at, but I, again, was uncertain of the area and didn't know if I could create it there. And so I wanted, or how long I would be there, and if there would be a context of which I needed an easier way to make fire. So I practiced with ferro rods. It's a different beast, ferro rod fires. In some ways, to be honest, a friction fire is better. Because you get a coal, and then that coal has a lot of heat, versus trying to get one spark to light some fluff. But I got my fire going. So thankful. I've got shelter, I've got water, I've got fire. Food would be awesome, but what can I do? Oh, I can put some fishing line and hooks out in the lake tonight. You know, look around, grab a little snail. Okay, I'll try the snail for bait. Just see what happens. And I did that, and I'd set up my camera, my tripod, over where I was doing this fishing line thing. And then I left it there and went and sat down by my fire, waiting for my water to boil. As I'm sitting there with no camera within reach, I see glowing eyes, like about from me over to the trailer. What are those glowing eyes? Alright, let me just kind of look over there and see. Wait and see. Observe. I've got the fire right here. The heart's pounding a bit. And then the animal, it was like facing straight on me. And then it shifted, and I could see in the firelight some spots. And the lighting was such that it's really hard to tell the size. Is this a small animal or a big animal? We'll be back. Leave it. But with the spots, and I could see this long, skinny tail, and then I could also see the pointed ears. Oh, it's not a puma right now. It's not a wild boar. It's a wildcat. The endemic to that area wildcat that has spots on it. And it came a little bit closer, and it just looked at me. And that's when I had a moment of checking my fears versus like what's actually happening here. Because, you know, part of my brain was like, oh no, this is terrible. But then I checked in with the feeling of the situation and the feeling of that animal, and I actually felt like it was welcoming me to its area, its home, but also letting me know that it was here. Because one of my plans was to make some really effective traps for foxes. Because there was foxes in the area and I could trap foxes. But this cat was the same size as a fox. And would probably go to the same bait that I put there for a fox. And I did not want to harm that cat. A, illegal. B, the feeling of it. And so I promised I'm not going to set those traps. Because I don't want to catch you. And I had a dream years before, one of those vivid dreams that feel like reality, where I had caught a spotted cat in a trap. And it wasn't dead, but it was made enough that I had to end it. I didn't want to do that. Plantain, sheep sorrel, kind of a lemony flavor. There was clover. There was chickweed up on one patch, like a sunny patch on the hillside. And there was a stinging nettle patch way up the mountain. And so I would harvest plants, and every evening I'd make green soup in my pot. And I'd put in like a little handful of dried beans. soak. I'd like do the dried beans to soak overnight so they can cook them the next day. And I made a spoon the first night I carved this spoon. Found this washed up, the stick, pretty nearly like this, washed up on the edge of the lake. And I carved just the top of the spoon so I could eat, and figured, oh, later I'll carve this, carve the handle down. But carving a handle was not high on my survival priority list. And after a day or two, I was like, oh, I want something to mark my days, mark my time, and I want it to be something that I can take home with me. I don't want to carve on the edge of my shelter, on this big log. I want something that I can take home. And so every day I carved a notch in my spoon. And I call it my calendar spoon because I also made little notations of letters or dots to signify certain things and try to help trigger my memory. And a lot of survival is not about the physical skills, but about our mental skills and about our psychology. And how well do we know our psychology to help us in a survival situation or even in our daily lives? So with thinking about my psychology, I was like, man, if I carve all the way down one side, which is about 5 weeks, and then I start carving on the other side, I'm gonna be a little intimidated. Like, it's gonna look like, man, I've got so much farther to go. And so I decided to carve on one side of the stick 1 week, and then jump to the other side for 1 week, and go back and forth, because 1 week felt really doable. Like, I got this. I can make it another week. And then what do I need for this next week? Or do I have enough firewood stocked up to make it a week? Or a couple of days? Do I have enough plants? That was more a couple of days harvest at a time. How many times do I need to harvest in 1 week? How much fishing to do. And so for me, that's what worked, was 1 week at a time. But I tell you, the day I turned to the back and started doing notches on the back side, that was a deep breath day. Like, okay, how much longer? Because I wanted to be there, and I had no idea where that line was going to be. So I've got four weeks and 2 days on the back. So a month. Yeah. Many things to be said about this spoon. Yes.
We just got here. I gotta look at it.
So with my calendar spoon, I know it was on day 11 I moved into my shelter. And I took the skills. I had been a carpenter for a year beforehand, full time in Alaska. Had a lot of building skills, and it was awesome to go out and be like, well, I know how to build. I don't have a hammer or a measuring tape or a square or lumber. What am I gonna do? Well, skills are transferable. I decided to weave walls like a basket. So I pounded stakes into the ground, and I thought to myself, I don't have a measuring stick / tape, but I could make a measuring stick. It doesn't matter how many inches it is, it just needs to be the size it needs to be. And so I had a stick about this wide, this long, that I pound a stake into the ground, use my axe for that, and put another stake here. Pound that into the ground. Pound another stake into the ground. And I drew out this oval shape to do this, and then I did it again. So I had one row of stakes in an oval, and then about this far, however that far is, out, I did another round of stakes. And I wove saplings in and out, around for 2 layers. And that made an area that I could insulate. So I could could have insulated walls for my shelter. And in the harvesting of those saplings is when I gave back to the land. Because I could go and in a patch this big, just cut every single sapling. To be honest, that would have been less energy. It's not what I was there to do. It's not what I had committed to doing. I committed to being a caretaker of the land. And so I harvested a few and left the healthier saplings to be able to grow with more light, with more energy. Like they could grow stronger because it had been thinned. And then I went to another patch and I did the same thing, and another patch and I did the same thing, and another patch. And for days I went out cutting saplings and bringing them back. And then I made an A-frame doorway for less heat to go out. So more heat would rise but stay in the shelter. The first couple of weeks kind of flew by. There were definitely moments of sadness, frustration, fear, but I kept choosing to come back to my joy of being there. And I didn't consciously think this, but what happened is I never thought, do I want to tap out? The premise of the show, if you're done, you can tap out. I never thought that. My thought was, do I still want to be here? So again, like setting up the question to work with my psychology to help me with the goal that I wanted to accomplish. Do I still want to be here? And in the moments of crying my face off, I'd come around to, okay, do I still want to be here? And a smile would come onto my face when I asked that question. Like, yeah, I want to be here. This is so real. I want to be here as long as I can. And as the time went on, I kept doing the things I needed to survive, not just survive, but to live. Like, I made that my home. I explored and got to know the neighborhood of where the plants were and where the berries were and where the firewood patches were, where trees had fallen, years ago and seasoned very nicely for me. Just ready to go. Did I lose my...
No, but iPhone storage full.
Yeah.
Now managed.
Yeah, just leave it. Thank you. See? Full memory cards. Something I dealt with. Like, okay, well, I got what I got. And as time went on, I started thinking more about not just, because there was a choice. Do I just hunker down and try to wait it out? Try to be the last person simply by waiting and doing nothing? That wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't actively try to make 100 spoons or keep my hands busy. I did the things I wanted to do to live and enjoy my area. And some things were costly in the calorie sense. I wanted to sleep out on the beach and watch a meteor shower. And so I drug out my sleeping bag and gathered a whole bunch of firewood so I could have a fire going all night and help keep me warm. Because it was frosting at night at that point. And slept out and watched the meteor shower, which was amazing. And one morning I woke up in the dark and hiked up the hill behind me so that I could watch the sunrise one time. The way the mountains were, I didn't see the sunrise. By the time it got up, there was no sunrise colors that I saw, no longer the orange glow, just the yellow sun. And so I hiked up in the dark and I got up high enough that I could see the eastern sky clearly. And I saw Orion. Does anybody know the constellation Orion? It was in the eastern sky. Eastern sky. And what was fascinating, when I first got there, at sunset, just after sunset, Orion had been in the western sky at sunset. And in that moment, I actually had a sense of how long I had been there. Because up until then, I was living day by day, week by week, not holding on to the concept of time whatsoever. So I wow, I've been here a long time for this constellation to be in western sky, and now it's in the eastern sky. And the sun rose, and it was magnificent. The treetops there, the picture of it was almost like an African safari. The trees had big trunks and they grew up, but then they spread out in their canopy. So there was this orange glow in the canopy of the trees. It was amazing. And even though it was, I was bruised. I was, at that point, 75 days or longer of green soup every day. I had caught 6 fish throughout my 86 days there. And that was majority like in the middle chunk of time. So I hadn't had a fish in probably like 2 weeks when I did this. But it nourished my soul to go and do that. And that was worth it. So one of the things that I made while I was out there that I found early on was I found a cowhide. The area the gauchos had ranched in, and there was all these bones, large bones and little bones, and all these bug casings. Because my first thought was like, did production like put these here, put these bones here? But looking around from experiences I've had, I know this animal decomposed there. And my guess is it was in the spring, because I was there in the fall going into winter. In the spring during calving season, something had happened, and the cow and calf had died. And over the course of the summer, it had decomposed, but the side of the animal that was up off the ground had dried out in the sun, it had become rawhide. And it was the most nastiest piece of rawhide I've ever seen. There was blue on it, and it smelled terrible. What a resource. And I thought, when I first saw it, I want to make a drum. I had made a drum or two before then, and to me, a drum symbolized life. Like, I have enough energy and capacity, and there's enough abundance around me that I can make a drum. I'm not just surviving and struggling. And so I cleaned the hide. I'll do a whole story about how I cleaned it, but I cleaned it. I put ashes on it to neutralize any bacteria. And over time, I worked on it here and there between other things. And I found a hollow log. And I cut the hollow log, but the bottom of it was rotting. And so then I cut another piece so I could have like 2 C shapes. And then I was splitting it, and it's a really, really hard wood. No idea what kind other than hard. And it split. And there's a little nub that also split off of it. You see the black on here? Any guesses what that is? Charcoal. Yeah, from my fire. So I used charcoal as my pen to draw the shape, to know how far I was cutting down. And I wanted to cut even more. I wanted to thin out and bevel the edge, right? Like a drum, usually there's just like a little bit touching the hide, the head of the drum. But I was carving it and realized the wood is so hard, and I would be so likely to cut myself, that I needed to trust that it could be a drum without that beveled edge. And so making this drum was also a trust process. Because in some ways I wanted it so much, but I was also so afraid it wouldn't work. But I knew through lots of time, I knew I had to make it there in whatever shape and just try. I had to try it. I couldn't take home the pieces and make it perfect. I had to try it there. And so about day 84, I made it. I assembled it. All the pieces I've been working on. And I sat in my shelter using my pelican case as the table. And a cow bone, I turned turned into an awl.
No, I just got
And then with the awl and a pounder and another piece of wood, I pounded holes in the hide to be able to stitch it up and to go back and forth. To make it. And it was a struggle. The lacing was sort of rotted, and it did break a whole bunch of times with much frustration on my part and almost wanting to give up. I kept going, kept reattaching the pieces, kept going, and got to make the drum, which damp day. So you can see some of the cow hair on it. So it really kept me company those last few days I was there. Playing by the fire, singing songs, just making up songs as I went. Today, 86. Sad part of the story. Every so often they'd come out and check on us medically, do a weight check, check our blood pressure, listen to and they came out, they did their normal test, and then they left. Don't put this part on social media because they probably don't want it out there, but I'll tell you guys. They left, and I was shocked because I saw their faces, and I'm normally a pretty sensitive, intuitive person, and then you put me in the woods for 86 days, and that is going to be even stronger. And I could feel in them like, you're done. But they left. I was like, all right, cool. And I went out foraging, and I got another pot of green soup, and I started cooking it and laid down to rest. At that point, my energy level was pretty low. I could still do all the things, but I was resting a lot. I felt like maybe I had a preview of aging. I was like, oh, when I'm 80, I can still go out, cut firewood, carry it back, you know? But my arm loads might be a little bit smaller, and I might take a break after every log or two I cut. So I was laying down in my shelter, and I heard the motor of the boat. This is not good. This is not good. But I laid there. I was like, I'm not getting up. If something's happening, they're gonna have to work with this. And I could hear voices. And finally, they come up to my shelter. Because normally I'd hear them and I'd go meet them. At least be out. The producer kind of pokes his head into my shelter and is like, hey, we need to check your weight again. And they had me come out, stand on the scale, and it felt like eons. One of those moments of just waiting and waiting as they're like clustered over here talking in Spanish. Thank you. Which I don't know. And then finally, and they also showed up with their big cameras, more production team.
No, I'm thinking.
And finally, the producer says, Carly, the doctor says it's not safe for you. You gotta go. And it was such a heartbreak because I wanted to be there still. I was like, I know I can make it to 90 days. I think I can make it to 100 days. And then we'll see what happens from there. Like, I've got enough firewood for another week inside. I've got some greens. I had I had dried greens out in a basket over my fire so that if there was a lot of snow, I would still be able to have my green soup. And they called it. They said, no, you're done. And I had to leave. I gathered up all my things, not all of them, what I could, and They took me to a hospital. Doctors were super confused because I was so emaciated. I was 100 pounds. But I was so happy. Like, I was so full of life. It wasn't like I had been starving myself from punishment. Like, I was starving and enjoying life currently. And that show, being on that show, like, I didn't win the $500,000. But you never know what life has. Like, I never know what life has in store. Like, where life is going is still a mystery. But going on that show has led me here today, because the folks at LT Right Knives reached out to me after the show and said, hey, if you're ever in Ohio, come visit us. And I grew up in Ohio. I had family in Ohio. So the next visit, I went out to the shop and I met them. And they welcomed me into their family and said, hey, we're doing this camp out, come join us. You know, come show us how to make baskets. And then Casey Demi was at that camp out. He was like, hey, come down to Georgia. Just this snowball that continues to grow. Which is the most amazing thing, that such a drastic alone experience has led to this growth of so much connection in my life. So through that, I've created my company / my tagline, Human Nature Connection, because it's human to human connection, human to nature connection, and then we are nature. We think of ourselves as separate, but we are nature. There's like us. It's not us and nature. It's us and then the more than human world. I hope my stories inspire you to develop your own human nature connection in your lives.
Thank you, Carly.
We can ask some questions now. So many hands.
What inspired you to go with a knife of that size as opposed to one that's larger? So if you had a knife, let me see, you had a knife and you said you had a saw and an axe?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had a multi-tool, would that be counted as one item?
It's one item.
Okay, so, but what inspired you to go with that size knife?
It's a very practical size, useful for a lot of different applications. Isn't huge to carry around. Feels great in my hand.
Okay. Personal preference.
Personal preference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See, I didn't watch it either, really, the lone 50 pieces, but I see you around 3 and 5. What was your experiences from 3 versus 5? Was 5 tougher for you?
So I was home from 3 for like maybe 8 months, 9 months, and I got the phone call. We're doing a redemption season. You want to come? Excuse me? What? Are y'all crazy? And also was like, there's no way I can say no to this. Even though part of me was like, there's no way. But very much I wanted redemption. And so I tripled my consumption of calories. I severely limited my activities to go all in on trying to gain weight. And I was successful. I had been the same weight for 15 years, not doing anything, not trying to stay a certain way just to happen. It's like, well, all right, so let's do this. And I went to Mongolia, another totally unknown location, and I moved.
I like it. It's a good camp coat. Yeah, that's not like a front license plate cover that's orange. So, see, there's more stuff back there. No. Okay. It is $79.95. All right. Okay.
Okay, look at that back there. So.
If there's anything that you forgot, you can get it at the store at the Georgia Bushcraft meetup.
What? No. Yeah? Didn't do what you wanted it to do? No. Oh wait, was that Robert who just called me? That might have been. Yes. What's it?
Or did you lose us?
I don't know. Let's see what this is. I'll know if they say this call will be monitored. Pardon. Hey, we're at the outpost. We're at the outpost. We're in the store. We're finishing up an old weekend. Yeah, we lost you. We thought you went.
Bicycle equipment. All right, guys. Well, this is the end of the Georgia Bushcraft Fall 2025 meetup, and as you can see, majority of everyone has vacated. I am on my way doing the same. So guys, if you ever get a chance, check out the Georgia Bushcraft meetup. Very, very informal, very educational. So with that said, guys, as always, like father and son, mother and daughter, human in nature, we're all akin in some form or fashion. Just get out in the bush and have some fun. Virginia Bushcrafter, stay safe. You are truly appreciated.